Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Unstoppable God. Start from adding attribute points infinitely. Chapter 41. Swish, swish, swish. Following Qin Meng's order, the rockets that had been prepared were mounted on the crossbows, aimed at the black shadow in front of them, and fired in unison. Whoosh! Countless rockets shot out at the same time, like dense raindrops, streaking across the dark night sky, leaving fiery red traces that fell densely on the surrounding ground, trees and rocks. As soon as the dry grass and trees came into contact with the falling rocket, they burned instantly. The fire gradually spread and soon surrounded the hiding place of Lu Yun and the others. These guys are too cunning. Feeling the scorching air and the choking smoke coming from all directions, Lu Yun couldn't help but curse the opponent's caution and cunning. At the same time, he had to use his true energy to block the fire coming from all around. Even so, you can still feel the scorching temperature. Moreover, because of the bursts of rockets coming, they had to continue hiding behind the boulders. Once he goes out, he may end up being shot to death by random arrows. So, now they have only one choice, to stay where they are until the rain of arrows stops. But there were raging fires burning around them, forcing them to use their true energy to defend themselves. Therefore, after the arrow rain stopped, a lot of chi had been lost, especially Wang Baotou, who only had 50–60% of his chi left. Master Xiao, Master Yun, let's retreat first and come back when we are back to our peak condition. It's too late. Lu Yun walked out from behind the blackened and white boulder, holding a tiger-headed sword in his hand. His whole body was wrapped in pure yang qi, and his eyes shone with cold light, like dazzling stars in the night sky. Rush up and kill them all for me. There will be huge rewards. Kill! Continuous shouts of killing suddenly resounded from all directions. Under the firelight that had not yet been extinguished, it could be roughly seen that there were more than 200 people rushing to kill, each of them as strong as an ox. He flew among the trees, and in the blink of an eye he was 30 feet away from Lu Yun and others. Moreover, the opponent was very organized as they advanced, as if they had undergone special training. When they rushed forward in unison, they were very powerful. If you are an ordinary person, even if you are not intimidated by the opponent's number, you will probably be frightened by the opponent's momentum. But neither Lu Yun nor Xiao Chen are ordinary warriors. Although they are surprised by this formation, they are not afraid. Especially Xiao Chen, who had just experienced the killing of 100 people, quickly became calm. Looking at the people rushing in from all directions, Xiao Chen said disdainfully, "First there was a surprise attack, then there was a fire attack, and then there was a siege. It seems that the White Lotus sect only has these methods." As soon as he finished speaking, he drew his sword and killed those who were rushing from the front. As the saying goes, a frosty sword shines across Jojo, and from then on there is no one left in the world. The moment Xiao Chen set out, the sword light flashed, blood rained, and wailings filled the field. There were complete corpses with no breath everywhere. His speed is very fast, but the speed of his sword is even faster, incredibly fast. However, speed is only a characteristic of his swordsmanship. Fast, accurate, ruthless, flexible, terrifying, penetrating power, etc. As long as he draws his sword, almost no one will survive. Support, we need support, this man is too strong. When they saw the brothers in front of them falling one after another, everyone in Baiyun Villa hurriedly shouted. Especially when they saw Xiao Chen wandering in the night like a ghost, harvesting the lives of groups of people, they became even more panicked and frightened. But they were not the only ones suffering from panic. From the other direction, Lu Yun charged forward dragging a tiger-headed sword that was almost half his height. His murderous intent was aroused, and the aura was everywhere. There were broken limbs and broken bodies everywhere. If Xiao Chen used a line method to break through the opponent's siege, then Lu Yun used a face-to-face method. The sword moves lightly, while the sword is heavy and fierce. Each has its own advantages. In addition, Xiao Chen's body skills and the speed of the sword are very fast. The real destructive power caused by Lu Yun is not weak. But judging from the scene, Lu Yun seemed more ferocious, almost rampant. Only advance but not retreat, only attack but not defend. Lu Yun's violent collision, coupled with the fact that there were almost no survivors under the sword, immediately frightened the people in Baiyun Villa. They did not dare to charge forward anymore, and instead began to flee in the opposite direction. Although most of them are already warriors and are much stronger than ordinary people, facing this strong man who kills Tongmei realm warriors like chopping melons and vegetables, they have no intention of fighting. Those at the front were most aware of how powerful Xiao Chen and Lu Yun were, and they also collapsed the fastest and began to retreat. When the people who charged behind saw this, they also retreated. For a time, hundreds of people were chased by two teenagers. This scene was really weird. Suddenly, Qin Meng's tall body appeared suddenly, stopped the people who were running away in panic, and killed the warrior closest to him with a casual palm. His cold eyes glanced at the people, suddenly calming down the panic situation. Qin Meng looked at everyone with murderous intent in his eyes. Whoever dares to retreat will be killed without mercy. As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately felt a burst of cold murderous intent, and the whole person felt as if they were being stared at by a peerless beast. One of the stronger warriors, who was about the level of Tongmei realm, explained in a low voice, "Master, it's not that the brothers are afraid of death, but the strength of the two young men is too terrifying." Before the brothers could rush forward, they were frightened. Kill with sword energy and sword energy. There are only two of them. No matter how strong they are, there is a limit. I don't believe they will never run out of strength. Charge forward again. At the end, Qin Meng shouted almost hysterically. Under a lot of coercion and inducement, the people of Baiyun Villa, who had long been frightened, had to regroup and charge forward again. This time, the shock and fear in their hearts had disappeared, and on the contrary, they became crazy and bloodthirsty. Attacking may be death, retreating is definitely death, and it is a painful death. Compared to the former, they are more afraid of the latter. So for a while, they all regained their fighting spirit and prepared to fight to the death with the unknown enemy ahead. Only in this way can they fight for a chance to survive. Haha, it's good. Looking at the people of Baiyun Villa who came back after fleeing for their lives, Lu Yun's scarlet eyes revealed a ray of cold light, murderous aura, and red and white sword aura on the tiger-headed broadsword. Since the 7 kills have a 1,000-foot aura, why not slaughter the whole world? In an instant, Lu Yun felt an endless fighting spirit in his chest, and he rushed forward with a powerful wave of energy. The great killing made Lu Yun, who had not killed many people, extremely murderous. Even from a distance, he could feel a terrifying coldness, and even his soul was trembling. In this state, even those at the same level as him were suppressed to only 70% or 80% of their power. As for these shrimp soldiers and crab generals who were only in the Wu realm to Tongmei realm, they were suppressed even more severely. Most of them were so shocked that they couldn't even hold their weapons. Soon, Lu Yun alone had killed nearly 100 people. As he uses the 7-killing sword technique, the more he kills, the stronger the murderous intent he accumulates, and the more terrifying the increase in strength becomes. At the same time, under the influence of murderous intent, the entire person's state will become more and more crazy. Because Lu Yun uses energy points to directly improve the 7-killing sword techniques. This improvement is extremely perfect. He directly obtains the memory of controlling and using murderous aura from his memory. Murderous aura does not have the side effect of becoming crazier as he fights. However, murderous intent still has other effects on him. For example, Lu Yun is now very excited, his eyes are scarlet, and his eyes are filled with soaring fighting and killing intent. As the sword flashed, what flew out were either bloody heads or broken limbs. Master Qin, it's time to give the order. Looking at Lu Yun who was getting stronger as he fought, Yun Feiyan frowned slightly and reminded Qin Meng. These two young men are indeed not ordinary martial arts disciples. They are indeed worthy of making some sacrifices. Qin Meng sighed lightly, and immediately waved his hand to signal the more than 100 crossbowmen behind him to release arrows. Suddenly, a hail of arrows rained down like a torrential rain. The first ones to bear the brunt are undoubtedly the remaining people from Baiyun Villa. They put down everything to fight with Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, completely leaving their backs to Baiyun Villa and their owner. They never expected to become someone they trusted. The person will shoot an arrow from his back. Just like this, after a shower of arrows, all the people in Baiyun Villa were shot into hedgehogs, and their deaths were extremely tragic. Although Wang Baotou is a master in the late stage of Tongmei realm, ordinary arrows do not pose much threat to him, but under the violent rain of arrows, he still managed to hit several arrows gloriously. In the end, fortunately, he reacted in time and found a bunker next to him, and was able to survive. The arrows still shot through the silent night like meteors, seeming to kill Lu Yun and others completely, one after another without stopping. What a cruel heart. Although Lu Yun and the others were merciless when they took action, it was because the two sides were enemies and antagonistic existences. There was no possibility of reconciliation, only the separation of life and death. The people of Baiyun Villa completely treated their own people as abandoned children, and even crushed them with their own hands, which can be described as extremely cruel. In a state of extreme anger and excitement, Lu Yun's whole body's gang qi exploded, slashing out a sword qi that was about 10 feet long, smashing all the arrows in front of him like meteors. He jumped up high and headed towards the crossbowman hidden in front, slashed away. The explosion of Lu Yun's sword was so powerful and so unprepared that the neat formation of crossbowmen suddenly became confused and there was no time to stop the shooting again. This time, Xiao Chen, who had been on the defensive and wandering around, finally breathed a sigh of relief and took a deep breath to calm his violent heartbeat. Immediately, he glanced at the dark night in front of him, his eyes flashed with cold light, he tapped his feet lightly, and he immediately rushed forward quickly. His steps were very ethereal, and his speed was even faster, as if he had turned into wind and light. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed a distance of tens of feet and entered a chaotic crowd of crossbowmen. A wolf entering a flock of sheep is already a disaster. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen are not wolves, they are tigers. They rush into the chaotic flock of sheep, and the result is naturally obvious. Qin Meng, Yun Feiyan and others had been watching this scene and turned a deaf ear to the screams in the dark night. At this moment, Qin Meng's eyes lit up, and his strong and tall body flashed suddenly. A strong wind was brought up wherever he passed, and came to Lu Yun's back. A pair of generous palms pushed out in a continuous flow. The exhausted Junqi suddenly became like a sea, setting off terrifying huge waves and bombarding Lu Yun. Humph, I finally couldn't help but take action. Lu Yun had deliberately exposed a flaw before, but he didn't expect that the other party would take the bait and attack him from behind. He didn't neglect it either. Taking advantage of the murderous aura and fighting spirit he had accumulated before, he slashed out with a backhand slash, and powerful aura and murderous aura erupted at the same time. Boom! The true Qi realm was indeed terrifying. Lu Yun's sword was knocked back by the opponent's powerful palm force, and his whole body was also blown away by the powerful momentum. You brat, if you kill so many of my brothers, the owner of this village will not spare you. Qin Meng's sonorous voice carried a surge of violence and anger, and the astonishing energy and blood surged even more, which was astonishing. It's a pity that such momentum has no effect on Lu Yun. Just the murderous aura he currently carries is enough to withstand it. From the perspective of the collision just now, Lu Yun was at a disadvantage, but in fact it was just the opponent who had the advantage of taking the initiative and sneak attack. He actually made the sneak attack so grand and his face is thicker than the city wall. Lu Yun sneered, and immediately poured all the murderous aura and gangster energy into the blood-stained tiger head sword. The sword aura suddenly burst out, piercing the dark night sky at the speed of lightning. The dazzling cold light, like the scythe of death, made everyone feel a cold breath in their souls and a burning sensation in their bodies. Qin Meng's face suddenly changed as he was the first to bear the brunt. He could feel the power and terror of this sword the most, and his heart was filled with shock and disbelief. The reason why the true Qi realm is difficult to defeat is not only that the warriors have more true Qi in their bodies, but also because the tempered true Qi is more powerful. Therefore, ordinary Tongmei realm geniuses are simply no match for the true Qi realm warriors. But now the young man in front of him, who was only in the late stage of Tongmei realm, actually made him feel powerful, uneasy and dangerous. I thought I paid enough attention to you, but I didn't expect that I still don't pay enough attention to you. Qin Meng took a deep breath and dared not be careless anymore. He quickly pulled out the big knife on his back, and all the refined true energy surged, and he slashed out with the same knife. Boom! The powerful knife energy collided, stirring up the trees and rocks in all directions, and the sparks bursting out illuminated the dark night sky. Little guy, your strength is quite good. It's really a waste to kill you like this. But you killed so many of my brothers. It's reasonable, public and private. I will kill you today. Qin Meng's knife was as powerful as thunder, roaring continuously, with cold light flashing in his eyes, killing intent, extremely intimidating. Let's not talk about whether you are avenging your men or not. Make sure you can survive my knife first. Lu Yun sneered when he heard this, and the knife energy in his hand became more and more fierce, and the whole person's momentum became more and more powerful and terrifying. After some probing, he had roughly figured out the opponent's strength. He should have just refined his chi once and barely entered the chi realm. His overall strength was far weaker than other chi realm warriors, and was much weaker than the third-level monster he had killed before. If I hadn't consumed too much before, with your strength, I could kill you with my backhand. That's right, a weakling like you can only rely on the human C tactics to be able to fight me a few times. While Lu Yun was suppressing the opponent and beating him, he kept irritating the opponent with words. When facing the third-level monster before, Xiao Chen severely wounded the monster, causing it to go completely berserk. Only then did Lu Yun find an opportunity to kill it with a sword. This time, he used the same method. Young man, I admit that your talent and strength are good, but being so arrogant often does not lead to good results. Although Qin Meng was a little sulky, he had grown up in the wilderness and had mixed up with the White Lotus sect and the imperial court. He had long become an old gangster and an old swindler. How could he be easily aroused into anger by Lu Yun's few words? After saying this, his sword force changed, and he suddenly fired out dozens of sword energy, full of sharp edges, making a sizzling sound in the air as they all slashed down towards Lu Yun. Different from the true energy controlled by the Tongmei realm, after the true energy of a strong person in the true energy realm is refined, it is not only more powerful, but also the warrior can control it more accurately and flexibly, and can use weapons such as swords to inspire power. Powerful sword energy and sword energy. Therefore, he is confident enough to defeat or even kill Lu Yun, which will not take long. First the crossbowmen attacked with arrows, and then more than 200 men were consumed. He didn't believe how long Lu Yun, who was only in the late Tongmei realm, could hold on. It is not unreasonable for him to think so. For ordinary people or ordinary geniuses, when they are in the late stage of Tongmei realm, they do not have much true energy, and they will run out of true energy after a fierce battle. But unfortunately, his opponent is Lu Yun, a genius who has cultivated Hunyuan Kung Fu to an unprecedented level, the realm of Dongzhen. He also cultivated the pure Yang Gang Qi to great perfection and opened up 8 meridians. At this time, Lu Yun's pure Yang Gang Qi was far stronger than that of geniuses of the same level in both quality and quantity. In fact, Qin Meng was just a fool. With the support of the White Lotus sect, he could barely refine his qi. With such a foundation and strength, he was destined to never see a real genius, let alone a monster like Lu Yun who relied entirely on cheating for his cultivation. Kill everyone. Lu Yun, who used the second style of the 7-killing sword technique, felt as if he was possessed by a murderous god. 2 red cold rays of light shot out from his eyes, and his whole body was surrounded by a rich light red murderous aura. The almost substantial murderous aura caused the temperature of the surrounding air to drop suddenly. At the same time, the pure yang qi in his body gushes out like a spring, pouring all of it into the tiger head broadsword, and the sharp and domineering sword qi shoots out. At this moment, Lu Yun's not very tall body suddenly became domineering and fierce, as if he was a little killing god with an invincible appearance. Drink. With a loud shout, like a thunderous explosion, a massacre swept out from all directions, turning into the most dazzling sword in the night, piercing the air and breaking the darkness. Qin Meng's pupils shrank and he stared at the slashing sword. His body couldn't help but tremble. Under the terrifying murderous aura, his mind paused for a moment, and his body seemed to be imprisoned by something. Average stay. When he came back to his senses, Lu Yun's domineering and invincible figure and the most dazzling sword in the darkness were already magnified to infinite size in his pupils. How are you, so strong? After spitting out the last word, a line of blood bloomed from his neck. Then, the big head with wide-open pupils and a face full of flesh flew out of Qin Meng's strong body as if it was being dragged down by some force. If you can force me to use the second style of the 7-kill sword technique, you deserve to die. Lu Yun walked over and kicked Qin Meng's standing body. Immediately, his eyes fell on the broken blade on the ground, and he shook his head with regret. The force was too strong, what a pity. Just now, he concentrated all his energy and will, and penetrated the accumulated murderous intent and the pure yang qi into the tiger head sword at the same time. The power of the explosion was so fierce that it actually smashed Qin Meng's sword and human head. cut off at the same time. However, this result was both expected and unexpected. At this time, a loud shout suddenly sounded, pulling Lu Yun's eyes back from the broken blade. Where to go? After harvesting the life of the last crossbowman, Xiao Chen suddenly found Yun Feiyan and Wu Sheng, who had quietly escaped. Want to escape? How can this be done? Although most of the people in Baiyun Villa have been killed, the biggest purpose of his and Lu Yun's trip is the people of the White Lotus sect. If these two people are allowed to escape, half of their mission will be failed. It's obviously not possible to escape in front of them. I saw Xiao Chen's figure flashing, a sword light suddenly flashing in the dark night, and he caught up with the opponent in an instant. Seeing this scene, Wu Sheng immediately drew his knife and shouted, "Junior Sister Yun, you go first, I'll hold them back." "Okay, I will take good care of your wife and children in the future," Yun Feiyan said, and immediately turned around and left. Don't overestimate your capabilities. Looking at Wu Sheng, who took the initiative to stay, a cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and his sword came out like a dragon. The sword never regretted, and after one strike, Xiao Chen flew past Wu Sheng without even looking at him, and chased after Yun Feiyan, who was escaping far away. He had just left. Wu Sheng, who was standing with a knife, suddenly had a red star between his eyebrows, like cinnabar. The red spots like cinnabar quickly spread and enlarged, and immediately blood surged. At the same time, Wu Sheng, who looked extremely normal, fell backwards. His eyes were wide open, as if he had seen something incredible before his death. Please leave. Xiao Chen quickly caught up with Yun Feiyan, stepped on a boulder, jumped into the air, past Yun Feiyan, and landed firmly in front of the opponent. His eyes fell coldly on the other party's graceful figure, as if he was looking at a beauty with a withered body. Yun Feiyan smiled, her red lips slightly parted, like two pale red petals that were opening. You too, even if you are considered a genius in the entire Lingzhou, instead of living in a small filing martial academy, why not join our White Lotus sect? Then all kinds of exercises and elixirs will be at your fingertips, and your cultivation will rise step by step. How can you not beautiful? Xiao Chen said calmly. You evil heretics, scum of the human race, what qualifications do you have to make me surrender? A smile appeared on the corner of Yun Feiyan's mouth. She was so beautiful that she giggled and said, 800 years ago, the human race in the land of Kyushu were protected by the evil heretics you call them. Otherwise, they would have turned into monsters long ago. Blood food. The way of heaven is unkind and regards all things as stupid dogs. For your own selfish gain, you evil demons and heretics wantonly consume the heritage of the human race, carve up exclusive resources, and even use the human race as a cauldron to strengthen themselves. Such actions are not worthy of my mention of protecting the human race. Things. As he spoke, Xiao Chen's eyes showed crazy murderous intent, as if he wanted to kill all the evil heretics in his mouth. Faced with Xiao Chen's indifference and cold eyes, Yun Feiyan was not angry, but just gently gathered her long hair that fell to her chest, chuckled, and was extremely charming. Little brother seems to have some knowledge of the history of 800 years ago, but have you ever thought that what you know may be just some fragments, not comprehensive? Or, in other words, what you know is not the truth. Do you really think I want to discuss the history of hundreds of years ago with you? And you want to charm me with your little tricks, you are so arrogant. Xiao Chen snorted disdainfully, and then flicked his fingers, and the 3-foot clear sword vibrated with a crisp sword sound. The sound of the sword sounded, and the charming atmosphere around was immediately destroyed. The smile on Yun Feiyan's face slowly faded, and she became solemn. She said slowly and deeply, the gap between the Qi realm and the Tongmei realm is far beyond your expectations. Not everyone can fight against a higher level like your companion. And I'm not a grassroots person like Qin Meng. Are you sure you want to fight me? Xiao Chen had a blank expression on his face, neither surprised nor afraid. He held the hilt of the sword tightly with his right hand. The qi in his body surged, and there was a cold light flashing on the blade. Seeing this, Yun Feiyan finally felt a little angry. She snorted coldly, waved her sleeves, and floated towards Xiao Chen like flying, holding a light blue long sword tightly in her jade hand. Xiao Chen thrust out with a sword. In the silent night, the sword tips collided with each other, and a sharp crisp sound burst out. Although he had a strong talent for swordsmanship, he still couldn't resist the opponent in a head-on collision, and Xiao Chen flew out backwards. Yun Feiyin followed closely, and the sword energy bloomed on the blue long sword, cutting through the darkness that enveloped Beishou Mountain. During the process of retreating, Xiao Chen also stabbed out several swords in succession, repeatedly tapping in the darkness, tapping on the sharp sword energy that bloomed. Finally, Yun Feiyin seized the opportunity, and while stabbing out the sword, he made a palm with his left hand and slapped Xiao Chen's chest, leaving a black mark. Xiao Chen's figure flew backwards like a kite, but in the last gap, he stabbed out with a sword and tapped the bulge on the right side of Yun Feiyin. Yun Feiyin gritted his teeth and covered his chest, and the bright red blood flowed out from the green fingers. Xiao Chen staggered to the ground, his face turned from red to white, and finally from white to blue, and his lips were a black color. Yun Feiyin's palm was not only powerful, but also contained a very cold poison. If a general Tongmei realm warrior took a palm, he would probably die directly. Even though Xiao Chen had excellent swordsmanship and his strength was not inferior to that of a Qi realm warrior, it was impossible for him to remain unscathed. Yun Feiyin mobilized her qi to block the meridians in her chest to prevent blood from continuing to flow, and then looked at Xiao Chen, who was injured by her Tianan palm. Xiao Chen was not seriously injured or completely incapacitated as expected, but stood quietly in place, his eyes closed, and changed to holding the sword with both hands, vertically placed in front of his chest, with the tip of the sword facing up. Yun Feiyin frowned, holding the sword with both hands. What kind of swordsmanship is this? The sword moves lightly, holding the sword with both hands, completely giving up the advantages of the swordsmanship in terms of flexibility and speed. According to Xiao Chen's previous battles, he relied on his super fast speed, flexible body movements and super high swordsmanship to kill hundreds of people in Baiyun Villa without a single one being spared. At this time, why did he give up his advantages and strengths? Unable to figure it out, Yun Feiyin stopped thinking about it. She knew there was a more difficult guy behind her. If she let these two people entangle her, it would be difficult to get away. Yun Feiyin held the sword in her right hand and ran forward. The sword energy was like a long rainbow, brilliant and gorgeous. In a blink of an eye, Yun Feiyin came to Xiao Chen 3 feet away, and slashed forward with the long sword in her right hand. The sword energy was raging and the wind was whistling. At this time, Xiao Chen's eyes suddenly opened, and in an instant, it seemed that 2 beams of light shot out from them. Sword 2, Xiao Chen shouted lightly, and the true energy in his body was like a dragon and snake. The 3-foot green sword held tightly in both hands surged, stirring the silent cold night. The 3-foot green sword slashed forward, and the vast sword energy suddenly poured down, rushing towards Yun Feiyin like a torrent. Yun Feiyin's figure was immediately washed by the terrifying sword energy, and her pretty face was pale, and she had to stop. At the moment she stopped, countless sword energies burst out at the same time. On the ground and in the air, the sword energy was like a long snake winding around, and it made a sizzling sound. 10 years of sharpening the sword finally made it sharp, and it will break the bamboo in 1 day. Xiao Chen, holding the sword in both hands, moved suddenly, and his body turned into a ray of light, rushing towards Yun Feiyin, who was standing in place. A sword stabbed out, turning into a dazzling sword light, piercing through the silent night, and stabbed Yun Feiyin unstoppably. The other sword energies retreated with Xiao Chen's body, forming a dazzling sword rainbow tail. This is the sword 2 created by Xiao Chen after practicing many sword techniques, playing to his strengths and avoiding his weaknesses, and based on his own sword talent. The power is much stronger than the sword 1. Whether it is the sword 1 or the sword 2, it does not belong to any level of martial arts. At this time, it was performed in Xiao Chen's hands, which has exceeded the scope of the top martial arts. What's going on? Why do I feel my life is in danger? Yun Feiyin panicked, her sword trembled, and she repeatedly dispersed the surrounding sword energy. At the same time, her left hand was not free, and her true energy protected it, flashing silver light. She stretched out her hand and crushed the sharp sword energy. Although Yun Feiyin had many means and was very powerful, she had not completely resolved those fatal sword energy, and a sword light had already killed her. Like a meteor, the sword that pierced through the sky and the night made Yun Feiyin feel terrified for no reason, as if this sword was enough to pierce her body. Her feeling was not wrong. Sword 2 condensed all of Xiao Chen's sword will, and released the true energy and power without reservation, just to cut out this unparalleled sword, just to completely explode the persistence and sweat of practicing sword for several years. Yun Feiyan's eyes shrank, and the true energy that had been refined twice was released without reservation. At this time, she had completely forgotten the young swordsman who was crazy and killed Qin Meng with force, just to deal with this sword that threatened her life with all her strength. Just when Yun Feiyan was fully mobilizing her true energy, she suddenly felt something was wrong, her pupils suddenly shrank, and she suddenly felt that something had entered her body. Although it was a hard thing, there was no pain. No, I was stabbed. Hey, when was I stabbed? Astonishing sword energy burst out, surging wildly through her graceful body, raging, destroying, and extinguishing life like a torrent. After the long sword was drawn, Yun Feiyan's body trembled involuntarily, as if she had lost something, and her beautiful eyes stared at the front. There was nothing in front of her, only endless darkness. She wanted to raise her hand, but found that her brain was no longer obedient, and her body seemed to be in a state of freeze. Gradually, the light in front of her slowly became dim, and everything seemed to be completely swallowed by the night, and she herself fell into darkness. After slashing out the last sword, Xiao Chen himself was completely exhausted, and coupled with the injury of the Tianan palm, he finally couldn't muster any strength anymore, and his body slowly fell backwards. At the moment when his consciousness fell into sleep, he vaguely felt a pair of warm and powerful hands. Who else could it be if it wasn't Lu Yun who held up Xiao Chen? Yun Feiyan and Wu Sheng fled far away. After Xiao Chen caught up with them, Lu Yun didn't even have time to clean up the battlefield and caught up with them immediately. But his speed was much slower than Xiao Chen's, so when he caught up, the fight between the two had already come to an end. However, Xiao Chen's last sword really shocked him, and he was stunned for several seconds. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he wouldn't have been able to help Xiao Chen when he fell to the ground. His eyes fell on the body of Yun Feiyan in front of him. Although she was no longer alive, it did not affect her beauty. Lu Yun couldn't help but shook his head and smiled. She has long legs, plump buttocks, and proud breasts. She is the best at giving birth. Such a rare beauty was treated like this by you. Although he said so, Lu Yun's eyes were clear and thorough, without any obscene color. He shook his head slightly, and his eyes fell on the black mark on Xiao Chen's chest again. There was a cold breath on it. If ordinary people approached it, they would feel like they were in winter. However, Lu Yun did not feel anything. If you were still awake, it would not be difficult to deal with this cold breath, but you are in this state now. You can't wake up for a while. If you don't deal with it in time, it may hurt your internal organs. Well, I will clear this cold breath for you. After that, the pure yang gangqi in Lu Yun's body gushed out, gathered on his right palm, and then slowly pressed down on Xiao Chen's chest. The pure yang gangqi entered Xiao Chen's body, and the cold breath wandering in his body fled like a mouse seeing a rat. The pure yang gangqi is originally the most yang, which happens to be the nemesis of the cold and yin attributes. Not long after, the cold breath in Xiao Chen's body was expelled, and the black mark on his chest slowly subsided. At the same time, Xiao Chen's complexion slowly recovered, and his face also turned from green to pale white, and finally turned into the original ruddy color. Not long after, Xiao Chen finally woke up. He looked at Lu Yun, then at himself, and then said softly, "A drop of water should be repaid with a spring. Today, junior brother Lu saved my life. I can't make any promises. I will do my best to help you in the future." Lu Yun looked a little strange, and said jokingly, "Anything is okay." Xiao Chen looked serious and said without hesitation, "As long as it does not violate the original intention of the sword, other junior brothers can give orders." Lu Yun patted Xiao Chen on the shoulder to help him calm the disordered qi in his body, and smiled, "Senior brother Xiao, you are too serious. In fact, I don't need to do anything. With your physique, you can also drive away those cold auras." Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. "If that's the case, let alone whether I can recover so quickly, my sword foundation will probably be destroyed by 20% to 30%. His words were not exaggerated at all, and there was no need. If he was in a normal state, he would not be afraid of the cold breath. As long as he was conscious, he could slowly force it out of his body and ensure that it would not hurt his foundation. But in a coma, everything is hard to say. The final result is even more serious than he said before. Lu Yun smiled slightly, did not dwell on this matter, and changed the subject. Now, Baiyun Villa has been confirmed to be linked with the White Lotus sect, and all the people involved have been killed. Our mission is considered to be completed, and it's time to go back. Xiao Chen nodded. Yes, although this mission is a bit thrilling, fortunately it is not beyond our strength. At the same time, he was very glad that he dragged Lu Yun with him, otherwise, it would be difficult for him to deal with two Qi realm warriors. Immediately, Xiao Chen stood up, tied a 3-foot-long sword around his waist, and after tidying up his clothes, he looked towards the direction of Baiyun Villa and whispered, "There are still our things there, we have to go and pick them up." Our things. Lu Yun was slightly stunned, then quickly reacted and smiled strangely. Well said, everything in Baiyun Villa belongs to us. After that, the two left quickly. There was only a messy place ravaged by the sword energy. As for the charming female corpse lying on the ground, neither of them paid attention to it, as if they had completely forgotten it. The living would not take a second look, not to mention that this was a corpse that was about to become a dry bone. On the way back, they met Wang, the head of the police, who was covered in blood. At this time, he had taken out the arrows on his body. His face was a little pale, and he looked much weaker than Xiao Chen. Holding the principle of seeing whoever sees has a share, Lu Yun and the others also let Wang, the head of the police, join their team. If Wang, the head of the police, had not led the way along the way, they would probably have gone through a lot of twists and turns. Now, Captain Wang was seriously injured in their mission. If they didn't let him drink some soup, the two would feel uneasy, so it was natural for the three of them to search Baiyun Villa together. After a search, the three were a little disappointed. Baiyun Villa is one of the big families in Qingyun County. It shouldn't have so much wealth. Looking at the 3 boxes of silver that barely filled up in front of him, Captain Wang frowned slightly. 3 boxes of silver seemed a lot, but at most there were only about 10,000 taels, which was really not in line with the wealth that Baiyun Villa should have. Lu Yun thought for a moment and said lightly, "I guessed it right, most of the wealth of Baiyun Villa was handed over to the White Lotus sect. We are lucky to have looted so much." Hearing this, Captain Wang and Xiao Chen both nodded at the same time. Only in this way can they explain why such a huge Baiyun Villa only has this amount of silver. Lu Yun took out 500 taels of silver from one of the boxes and handed it to Captain Wang. Without Captain Wang's help, it would be difficult for us to find the base of the White Lotus sect, let alone eradicate it. This little bit of silver is your reward, Captain Wang. Looking at the white silver in front of him, Captain Wang was very tempted. But he also knew that he was almost a bystander along the way. Apart from leading the way, he did not help much, so he quickly refused. "This is all my duty. I really dare not accept this gift. Please take it back, young master." Xiao Chen on the side said, "This is not only a reward, but also a recovery fee. Captain Wang, you should accept it." Looking at Lu Yun and then at Xiao Chen, Captain Wang nodded heavily. "In this case, I have no choice but to refuse it." After speaking, he bowed respectfully to Lu Yun and Xiao Chen. "Haha, that's right." Lu Yun laughed loudly and threw the silver in the package to Captain Wang. Because there was a lot of silver, Captain Wang was naturally excited and hugged it quickly. Even if the wound on his body was affected, he didn't frown at all. The joy was greater than the pain. He then thanked Lu Yun and Xiao Chen again and said a lot of grateful words. In the end, he stopped at Lu Yun's wave. It must be said that Captain Wang is not only smart and intelligent, but also very good at dealing with people. After all this, he has invisibly brought him closer to Lu Yun and Xiao Chen. After Xiao Chen put away the box containing the silver, Lu Yun said to Captain Wang, "We will not go back to the county, but directly return to the Martial Arts Academy. Captain Wang, when you go back, just report the situation of the Black Tiger Village, the Black Wolf Gang and the Baiyun Villa to County Magistrate Zhao. Don't worry, Mr. Liu, I will report it truthfully. Okay, goodbye." In the dark night, the backs of Lu Yun and Xiao Chen disappeared quickly. Captain Wang stared at the black shadow that devoured the two people and thought for a long time. After all, he was also a government official, and he had been immersed in the position of the captain of Qingyun County for more than 10 years. He not only knew many secrets, but was also worldly wise. So after seeing the talent and demonic strength shown by Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, the first thing he thought of was to leave a good impression, but he didn't go too far, so as not to overdo it. He retracted his gaze, regained his mood, and slowly left the county. The next morning, Qingyan County Yamen. Zhao Wuji smiled and said, Captain Wang, I am relieved to see you return safely. Thank you for your concern, I am so scared. By the way, Captain Wang, why are you the only one back? Where are Master Lu and Master Xiao? Master Lu and Master Xiao did not return to the county. They returned to the Martial Arts Academy overnight yesterday and asked me to come back and report yesterday's events to you. Captain Wang said respectfully. Oh, since you have returned, please describe your trip in detail to me. Yes, sir, Captain Wang responded, and then told Zhao Wuji everything about the Black Tiger Village, the Black Wolf Gang and the White Cloud Villa. There was no artistic processing, it was completely based on his experience along the way. Even so, it took half an hour to talk, and Captain Wang stopped, his mouth was a little dry. Bang! After hearing this, Zhao Wuji's face turned extremely bad. He angrily crushed the teacup in his hand into pieces, and the tea splashed on the ground. It's outrageous, it's really outrageous. I gave Qin Meng a break and even let Baiyun Villa run the business in Qingyan County. I didn't expect that he would collude with the White Lotus sect. I was really blind. Captain Wang looked normal, just looking at Zhao Wuji calmly without saying anything. After about half a cup of tea, Zhao Wuji slowly calmed down his anger and ordered, Captain Wang, you take people to seal up all the industries of Baiyun Villa in Qingyan County, and check all those who have transactions with Baiyun Villa. I want to let all the families and forces in Qingyan County know that as long as I am the county magistrate of Qingyan County, I will definitely be irreconcilable with the evil cult. I obey your order. Captain Wang clasped his fists in response and left with a knife. Zhao Wuji in the lobby had a gloomy expression, and said slowly, it's really not easy to kill a Qi realm warrior beyond the level. Martial Academy. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen spent nearly 10 days to return to the Martial Academy. After completing the task, they each received 500 contribution points. Due to incorrect information, 2 Qi realm warriors appeared, and the difficulty of the task level increased. After confirmation, the two can get another 1,000 contribution points. Of course, even with the ability of the Martial Academy, it takes some time to verify. After coming out of the task hall, the two walked towards the pill building together, ready to make a good purchase. Only by transforming resources into strength can we truly make the best use of them. Both Lu Yun and Xiao Chen agreed with this point. This was the first time Lu Yun came to the pill building. The decoration inside was average, not as luxurious as the Baolin Hall he had visited in Yunshui County before. However, as the pill building of the Martial Academy, the things inside were not comparable to those in a small county town. Two brothers, what kind of elixirs do you need? As soon as Lu Yun and Xiao Chen entered the elixir building, a martial arts academy disciple came up to ask questions. There are many elixir buildings like this for disciples who have just entered the martial arts academy and have low strength. They cannot accept tasks outside the academy and have to accept some tasks in the martial arts academy in exchange for contribution points. 2 bottles of Tongmei pills. Xiao Chen said concisely and stated his needs. Okay. The disciple chuckled and looked at Lu Yun again. Lu Yun hesitated for a moment and asked, I want to ask, how much contribution is 1 bottle of Tongmei pills and QT pills? The disciple was stunned, but still said patiently, 1 bottle of Tongmei pills has a contribution value of 120, and 1 bottle of QT pills has a contribution value of 25. Lu Yun said, in this case, I also want 2 bottles of Tongmei pills, and 2 bottles of QT pills. Okay. Wait a moment. Watching the other party leave, Xiao Chen hesitated. Not long after, the disciple quickly handed over 4 bottles of Tongmei Dan and 2 bottles of QT Dan to Lu Yun and Xiao Chen. After the two used their identity tokens to deduct 290 and 240 contribution points respectively, they left together. Junior brother Lu, QT Dan is not helpful for the cultivation of Tongmei realm warriors. Why do you do this? After leaving the pill building, Xiao Chen finally spoke out his doubts. I have my own wonderful use. Lu Yun smiled mysteriously and did not explain. Xiao Chen did not care about this, everyone has their own secrets. After arriving at the place where the elite disciples of the valley lived, Xiao Chen said, Junior brother Lu, I have gained a lot on this trip, I am afraid I need to retreat for some time. But don't worry, after I deal with those things, I will definitely not miss you at all. Haha, I believe in the character of senior brother Xiao. Lu Yun likes to get close to Xiao Chen, a genius in swordsmanship. In addition, they have been together for nearly 20 days. Although they know each other well, they know each other's character very well. After exchanging pleasantries, the two separated. Lu Yun did not return to his residence immediately, but went directly to Duan Qing's courtyard. Courtyard No 1045 is Duan Qing's residence. I'll be there soon. Lu Yun just knocked on the door, and Duan Qing's voice came from inside. Who is it? Duan Qing said as he walked over to open the door. Not long after, the courtyard door creaked open, and a chubby and round figure came into view. Lu Yun, junior brother Lu. When he saw that the person coming was Lu Yun, Duan Qing's chubby face, a pair of small eyes almost narrowed into a slit, and he hurriedly greeted, Junior brother Lu, come in and sit down quickly. Without waiting for Lu Yun to react, Duan Qing pulled and pushed him into the courtyard. Duan Qing enthusiastically poured a cup of tea for Lu Yun, and sighed, hee hee, junior brother Lu, I haven't seen you for a long time. I am flattered that you came to my house in person today. Lu Yun smiled and said, some time ago, I went out to do a mission with another senior brother, so I was not in the martial arts academy. After explaining the whole story, Lu Yun directly stated the purpose of this visit. This time, in addition to visiting, I came to return the contribution points of senior brother Duan. You're welcome, junior brother Lu is really too polite. While speaking, Duan Qing's chubby little hand had already skillfully taken out the identity jade card. Lu Yun couldn't help but laugh at Duan Qing's actions. Of course, this is because he has some understanding of Duan Qing's character and temperament, and knows that the other party is not greedy for those contribution points. The other party gave Lu Yun a bottle of Tongmei Dan with a contribution value of 120 for a price of 100 contribution, and it was almost a month in arrears. This shows Duan Qing's nature. After transferring the contribution value to Duan Qing, Lu Yun chatted with Duan Qing for a while before leaving. After returning to his residence, it was already dark. This mission took nearly a month to go back and forth, resulting in no one cleaning up the courtyard and a lot of dust accumulated. Lu Yun spent half an hour tidying up the courtyard and taking a hot shower before the dark curtain finally fell. Returning to the room, Lu Yun opened the panel refreshed. Name: Lu Yun. Force: Filing Martial Academy. Martial Arts: Po Feng Sword Technique Perfect. Cannot be upgraded. Hunyuan Gong Dongzhen. Cannot be upgraded. Pure Yang Gangqi Dacheng 47%. 7 kills. Sword Technique Dacheng 11%. Root Bone. 5 stars. Martial Arts: Late Stage of Tongmei Realm. 8 meridians. Energy Value: 3. These days were almost spent on the road and fighting, and the panel did not change much. Lu Yun didn't care much about this and directly took out the Tongmei pill and body tempering pill exchanged from the pill house at the same time. 2 bottles of Tongmei pill and 2 bottles of body tempering pill. If it weren't for returning Duan Qing's 200 contribution points, he would definitely exchange them all into elixirs without hesitation. It's a pity that Lu Yun is not the kind of person who owes debts and refuses to repay them even though he has the ability. That is not his character. What he hated most in his previous life was the kind of person who acted like a grandson when borrowing money and acted like an uncle when paying back money. After swallowing each Tongmei pill, movement began to appear on the panel. +8 energy value. +8 energy value. There were 20 Tongmei pills in the 2 bottles, which added a total of 160 energy points to Lu Yun. It is still an average of 1 Tongmei Dan, which increases the contribution value by 8. Let me see how effective this body tempering pill is. After converting all the Tongmei pills into energy value, Lu Yun started taking the body tempering pills. +1 energy value. Lu Yun was stunned when he saw that only 1 energy value had been added to the panel. Could it be an accident? Take 1 more. +1 energy value. There are no surprises, it still only increases 1 contribution value. After a while, Lu Yun finally accepted this reality, but he still couldn't help but complain. This shrinkage is too serious, it has shrunk by about double, it's really too much. In the past, a body tempering pill could increase his energy value by 1.8, but now it was directly discounted, which made Lu Yun feel depressed. It seems that as my cultivation level increases, the energy value converted by the same kind of elixir or spiritual object will also decrease. When my realm reaches a certain level, the body tempering pill cannot even be converted into an energy value. Lu Yun thought secretly. He had always been in the exploratory stage regarding the functions of the panel. Until now, he was not fully familiar with and understood the panel. But what is certain now is that his idea of exchanging low-grade elixirs and spiritual objects for energy value is completely shattered. At the same time, he also understood why the panel did not move at all when he took those medicinal materials in Beisho Mountain. The level of those medicinal materials was too low to even be considered as elixir. In addition, Lu Yun was already in the late stage of Tongmei realm, so he did not gain any energy value. This is good, it will save me a lot of suspicion. As Lu Yun's cultivation level improves, if he often purchases pills that do not match his level, it will inevitably arouse the ideas of interested people. Although nothing could be discovered by others in the end, being watched by too many malicious eyes was not a good thing for Lu Yun. +1 energy value. +1 energy value. After swallowing 2 bottles of body tempering pills, Lu Yun's energy value reached 183. There are only 2 martial arts that Lu Yun can improve now. One is Pure Yang Gangqi Dacheng 47% and the other is Killing Sword Technique Dacheng 11%. In the Dacheng stage of these 2 martial arts, 1 energy value is consumed for each improvement in practice progress. This time, the energy value suddenly increased by nearly 200, and it was time to improve. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Lu Yun remained calm. Focus on pure yang energy. Promote. The energy value is still increased once every 10 times. Consume 10 energy values, and the pure yang qi is increased to Dacheng 57%. Consume 10 energy values, and the pure yang qi is increased to Dacheng 67%. Consume 10 energy values, and the pure yang qi is increased to Dacheng 97%. Without any hesitation, consume 10 energy points again. Boom! The moment these 10 energy values were consumed, an extremely powerful force was born in the body, and then swept across the whole body. A tough and wide meridian gradually took shape. Almost half an hour later, the vast and majestic pure yang qi was wandering in between. The 9th meridian is completed. There is no end, this is just the beginning. After the 9th meridian was completely opened and pure yang gang qi penetrated it, rumbling movement came out of the body again. An hour later, the 10th meridian was completely connected, and the pure yang qi in the body rose again. Boom! The movement in Lu Yun's body became louder and louder, and the sound it caused became more and more terrifying. Almost 2 hours later, the 11th meridian penetrated the whole body. The surging pure yang gang qi spread throughout the room, and the temperature around was rising sharply. Another 4 hours later, Lu Yun completely opened up the 12th meridian, and the pure yang gang qi reached an unprecedented level, flowing violently in the 12 meridians, surging like a big river, and penetrating the whole body. The surging powerful pure yang gang qi instantly smashed the martial arts school disciple uniform on his body, and even the whole room began to shake violently. For all this, Lu Yun, who was immersed in the state of improving his strength, did not notice it at all. In fact, even if he noticed it, he could not stop everything, because he could not perfectly control the pure yang gang qi in his body. Only by absorbing and integrating the surging memory can he perfectly control the pure yang gang qi so that it would not leak out at all. Pure yang gang qi is extremely strong in yang, and it almost restrains most of the extreme yin energy. But among all the disciples of the Martial Arts Academy, no one has ever been able to cultivate it to perfection. This is due to both talent and cultivation resources. According to the memories absorbed by Lu Yun, if ordinary people want to improve the pure yang energy to perfection, they must refine a treasure called yang stone. Yang stone is a precious mineral spiritual object that contains the properties of extreme rigidity and yang. There are few records of it in the Great Yuan. This shows how precious yang stone is. If it weren't for the absorption and fusion of memories, Lu Yun wouldn't even know what yang stone is. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Academy. Martial Arts: Broken Wind Blade Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Hunyuan Gong Dongzhen, Cannot be upgraded. Pure Yang Gangchi Perfect 3%. 7 Killing Blade Technique. Dacheng 11%. Root Bones. 5 stars. Martial Arts. Peak of Tongmei Realm. 12 meridians. Energy value. 123. Lu Yun looked at the panel and finally raised the Pure Yang Gangchi to perfection after consuming 60 personal energy values. At the same time, he also used the breakthrough of the technique to open 4 meridians in a row and reach the peak of Tongmei Realm. In the Tongmei Realm stage, being able to open 9 meridians is already a genius. 12 meridians are the limit of the meridians that can be opened by Tongmei Realm warriors. At present, Lu Yun has 12 meridians. According to the progress of Pure Yang Gangchi, 12 meridians may not be the limit. According to the practice of Hunyuan Gong, after the Pure Yang Gangchi is perfected, there are 2 more levels above Tongshuan and Dongzhen. Of course, this is just Lu Yun's guess. However, Lu Yun feels that he is now several times stronger than before. No matter how strong you are, you can't be naked. Feeling the chill in his crotch, Lu Yun had time to look at himself. He seemed to have grown a little taller, but the disciples' clothes on his body were broken into pieces, barely covering a few secret places. When he entered the martial arts academy, he got a total of 2 sets of disciple clothes. After putting on the other set, he didn't feel the chill. Although I have integrated these memories, it will take some time to transform them into my own things. Although the clothes are not burst by the Gangchi now, the use of Gangchi is not so handy. However, he absorbed the memory, and within a few days, he mastered the perfect Pure Yang Gangchi to perfection. Next, it is to improve the 7 killing swordsmanship. Consume 10 energy points. The 7 killing sword skill is upgraded to great perfection 21%. Consume 10 energy points. The 7 killing sword skill is upgraded to great perfection 31%. Consume 10 energy points. The 7 killing sword skill is upgraded to great perfection 91%. Consume 10 energy points. The 7 killing sword skill is upgraded to perfection 1%. At the moment when the 7 killing sword skill was perfected, a more powerful and extremely cold breath was generated from his body, surging and invading his entire body, and leaking out, causing the temperature of the entire room to drop suddenly. If it weren't for his Pure Yang Gangchi being upgraded to perfection, the murderous aura would be enough to freeze his internal organs under the invasion of this extremely cold breath. Then, a series of scenes appeared in his mind. In a battle between hundreds of thousands of troops, he turned into a black armored general. In a war that crushed lives like a roulette, he wore armor and held a blood knife, charging back and forth with 1 against 10 or 100. One by one, enemy soldiers, decapitation commanders, centurions, 1,000 commanders, and even 10,000 commanders fell under his sword, becoming one of the souls killed by his sword. As more and more lives were killed by his hands, his expression became more and more calm, and the murderous aura around him gradually changed from light red to deep red. Scarlet shrouded the surroundings, and the enemy troops who besieged them were shocked by the powerful murderous aura, and their faces turned pale with fear, and they all fled in disarray. Killing 1 is a sin, killing 1,000 is a hero, and killing 9,009 is the hero among heroes. Like the black armored general, the souls who died under his sword in his life were more than 9,009, and he was a killing god. After completely digesting the memory, Lu Yun slowly opened his eyes. A pair of eyes without any emotion, like the moon hanging high in the night sky, cold and distant. Looking at the room that was about to condense into an ice cave, Lu Yun's mind moved, and the deep red murderous aura in the room was completely restrained, and then the powerful Pure Yang energy was released. After the 7 killing sword technique was perfected, the murderous aura not only shocked the soul more strongly, but also further strengthened the cold and yin properties. The ice condensed in the room was not so easy to melt even under the sunlight. However, the Pure Yang Gangchi was extremely strong and yang, especially the Pure Yang Gangchi with increased energy value, which was perfect and had no defects. Soon, the ice in the house melted and turned into wisps of light smoke. Looking at his masterpiece, Lu Yun was slightly satisfied, and his eyes, which were originally full of frost, gradually became emotional. At this time, looking at the panel again, the progress of the 7 killing sword technique has reached perfection 1%. Perfect Pure Yang Gangchi, perfect 7 killing sword technique. Lu Yun sat on the bed, closed his eyes and felt the changes in himself. The perfect pure yang gang qi allowed him to open up 12 meridians, and the pure yang gang qi in his body almost reached the limit of the martial artist in the Tongmei realm. As for how many meridians can be opened up by the higher level of pure yang gang qi, it is an unknown number. In the martial arts academy, he had not heard of anyone who had cultivated pure yang gang qi, let alone cultivated it to a level above perfection. However, it can be known that he is far from reaching the limit of Tongmei realm. Unlike pure yang gang qi, the martial arts of 7 killing swordsmanship has another level above perfection, that is, killing intent. What exactly is killing intent, what is its use, and how it is improved compared to killing aura, these are still a knowledge blind spot for Lu Yun. When he upgrades 7 killing swordsmanship to the corresponding level, there will be memory irrigation, and he is somewhat looking forward to it. However, upgrading pure yang gang qi and 7 killing swordsmanship in succession consumes 60 and 90 contribution points respectively. Now, he only had 33 energy points left, and he couldn't continue to improve any of them. He simply took out the Black Tiger Sword technique. The Black Tiger Sword technique was a first-class martial art that he had obtained after destroying the Black Tiger village when he and Xiao Chen were on a mission last time. He had never seen it before, but now he finally had time. Although the Black Tiger Sword technique was also a first-class martial art, it could not be compared with the 7 killing sword technique. Moreover, the Black Tiger Sword technique paid more attention to skills and moves, unlike the 7 killing sword technique, which was fierce and domineering, and had a deadly and lifeless path. The Black Tiger Sword technique had only one move, but it had 18 changes. It was about using flexible moves to defend against the enemy according to the opponent's strength, speed, and strength. After going through it completely, another Black Tiger Sword technique appeared on the panel. Half a month later, in the courtyard, Lu Yun waved a tiger-headed broadsword, his posture was elegant, and his sword skills were sharp and flexible. In the whistling wind, sometimes he was like a tiger hunting, fierce and domineering, sometimes he was like a tiger running wildly, extremely fast. It is indeed a first-class martial art. Although it cannot be compared with the 7 killing sword technique, it undoubtedly enriches my means of dealing with the enemy. Lu Yun sighed. Although he has pure yang gangqi inside and the 7 killing sword technique outside, when facing the enemy, he relies on the powerful gangqi and momentum to crush the opponent. He also likes this fighting style, which is simple, straightforward and rough. But this kind of crushing battle is also very consuming for him. If the opponent's strength is not much different from his, this kind of extensive battle will become his defect. After half a month of adding points and hard study and practice, he finally raised the Black Tiger Sword technique to the great success level, making up for another of his defects. Name: Lu Yun. Force: Filing Martial Academy. Martial Arts: Po Feng Sword technique perfect, cannot be improved. Hunyuan Gong Dongzhen, cannot be improved. Pure Yang Gangqi perfect 5%. Keisha Sword technique perfect 2%. Black Tiger Sword technique Dacheng 13%. Root Bone, 5 stars. Martial Arts: Peak of Tongmei Realm, 12 meridians. Energy value: 0. Compared with the previous panel, Lu Yun's current panel has become more gorgeous. He possesses 5 martial arts, one of which breaks the limit twice, creating a solid foundation. The other 2 are also the most top-notch first-class martial arts, which have reached perfection, making Lu Yun nearly invincible in the Tongmei realm, and killing his opponents by leapfrogging can be as easy as eating and drinking. Although the last Black Tiger Sword technique was not perfect, it added another method to his path to invincibility. But when he saw the 0 energy value on the panel, Lu Yun couldn't help but frown. As the level of martial arts increases, the demand for energy value also increases. The energy value of nearly 200 only raised the pure Yangqi and the 7 kills sword technique from Dacheng to perfection. The Black Tiger Sword technique can be upgraded to a great level. In addition to consuming less energy, Lu Yun's hard training is also indispensable. Studying hard and practicing hard are Lu Yun's inherent excellent qualities, and Lu Yun continued to maintain this state for another half-month. Pure Yang Gangqi perfect 7%, 7 kills sword technique perfect 4%, Black Tiger Sword technique great success 19%. Half a month of practice saved Lu Yun at least 20 energy points. Even so, there is not much progress for him now. At least, there is no improvement that can be seen with the naked eye. It's been quiet for more than 2 months. It's time to go to the Vientiane Pagoda to lay wool. Lu Yun got up from the bed and walked out of the room. Just opened the courtyard door. Then he saw Xiao Chen, who was just about to knock on the door. He held the sword in his right hand and knocked on the door with his left hand. He just stood there and looked at Lu Yun silently. Why are you looking at me like this? I have flowers on my face. Lu Yun originally had a joking tone, but his voice was a little cold, and his eyes were cold, giving people a feeling of being thousands of miles away. What has happened to you these days? It feels like there have been some big changes. Xiao Chen frowned. If Lu Yun's appearance hadn't changed, he would have thought he had found the wrong person. The moment he finished speaking, Lu Yun realized his problem. After thinking for a while, Lu Yun guessed the problem. The most likely reason why he has undergone such a big change is his breakthrough in the 7-kill sword technique. Although he has completely absorbed the memory and perfectly controlled the murderous aura, the previous influence on him cannot be eliminated for a while. Thinking of this, Lu Yun casually explained, it may be the impact of the breakthrough in martial arts. It will be better after a while. Xiao Chen nodded lightly. Cultivation and martial arts breakthroughs would invisibly change the body. Lu Yun's change was a little big, but it was within the acceptable range, so he had no doubts. At this time, his eyes fell on Lu Yun's tiger head sword. Ready to go out. Well, money is a bit tight, let's try going to the Vientiane Tower. Lu Yun tried his best to put on a smile on his stiff face and asked, what, do you want to go and try it together? Regarding Lu Yun's invitation, Xiao Chen did not respond immediately, but said in surprise, didn't you find that you have an extra 1,000 contribution points on your identity token? Is there one? Lu Yun quickly took out the identity token and checked it. After returning from Duanqing, Lu Yun devoted himself to adding points and practicing, forgetting all other things, and never looked at the identity token. 1,010 contribution points. Lu Yun couldn't help but exclaimed. His originally stiff and indifferent face was greatly relieved and looked much normal. Sure enough, having money can make the world go round, and having contribution value can make Lu Yun change his face. Seeing Lu Yun's behavior, Xiao Chen said with great interest, why, do you still want to go to the Vientiane Tower? Lu Yun replied without hesitation, go, of course. Thinking about it carefully, it had been more than 2 months since he last visited the Vientiane Tower, and he still missed it a little. For most disciples, the Vientiane Tower is a long-term assessment given to them by the Martial Arts Academy. But for a small number of people, it is a place to gain contribution value. For Lu Yun, this place is not only a place for wool, but also the best place to test his strength. I have processed all the silver taels and other things seized in the last mission. I have obtained a total of 67,000 taels of silver, which is converted into 670 contribution points. You and I will contribute 50 to 50, and each of us will contribute 335. Value. Xiao Chen took out his identity token and allocated 335 contribution points to Lu Yun's identity token. Vientiane Plaza. Many people gather here with friends and company, either waiting for the opportunity to enter the Vientiane Tower, or having fun by inquiring about other people's achievements. At this time, a blue-robed young man walked out of the Vientiane Tower. This man was Ma Yunfei, a new disciple who entered the Martial Arts Academy at the same time as Lu Yun and others, and one of the few geniuses with 5-star top bones. After practicing in the Martial Arts Academy for several months, his cultivation has been greatly improved, and his overall temperament has also improved a lot. As soon as he came out of the Wanxiang Tower, many teenagers of the same age surrounded him. Brother Ma, how is it, did you pass the 7th floor? Nonsense. Brother Ma is extremely talented, he must have passed the 7th floor. That's right, it's just the 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower, for Brother Ma, it's just a small test. Amid the crowd, Ma Yunfei, who stood out from the crowd, had his eyes sparkling, looking at the Wanxiang Tower towering in the sky, with a slight arc at the corner of his mouth. It has only been more than 3 months since he entered the Martial Arts Academy, and he has passed the first 6 floors of the Wanxiang Tower in succession, ranking among the top among all the new disciples. Today, he broke through the bottleneck again, passed the 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower again, and persisted in the 8th floor for a while. With such an achievement, among all the new disciples, only Bai Haoxuan with a 6-star bone can suppress him. Such talent and such achievements are worthy of his pride and pride. Wanxiang Jade Wall. Ma Yunfei's eyes fell on a piece of jade wall in front of the Wanxiang Tower at this time. The Wanxiang Jade Wall. Those who are listed on it are the true geniuses and strong men of the martial arts academy, and their cultivation is at least in the late stage of the Yuanhua realm. Only by being listed on the Wanxiang Jade Wall can one truly become a figure of the martial arts academy and even the entire Lingwu County. From this moment on, his goal is to leave his name on the wall. At this moment, the followers who have been flattering him suddenly became quiet. Look at those two people, someone suddenly exclaimed. Ma Yunfei's thoughts were distracted by this sudden exclamation, and he looked back, frowning slightly. Two young men came together. The younger one had fair skin, delicate features, and a bit of handsomeness. His eyes were as bright as stars, but also extremely indifferent. His temperament was very complex, with both a comfortable masculinity and a frightening coldness. The temperament of the older boy was relatively simple. His sword-like eyebrows and star-like features were cold and indifferent, and his lonely, cold and arrogant eyes ignored the gazes of those around him. A young man gathered around Ma Yunfei exclaimed, "It's Lu Yun and Xiao Chen." Ma Yunfei groaned slightly. Lu Yun, Xiao Chen. They haven't been to the Wanxiang Tower for more than 2 months. This time they came together. It seems that there is a big breakthrough. They are going to charge to the 6th floor. Brother Ma, should we stay and watch the excitement? Ma Yunfei's calm face showed a strange look at this time, and then he said lightly, "Anyway, it won't take long. I want to see what level these two guys who used to be as famous as me are." When he first entered the martial arts academy, he, Xiao Chen, and Lu Yun stopped at the 6th floor of the Wanxiang Tower one after another, and they were compared more than once by those gossipers. However, he passed the 6th floor of the Wanxiang Tower not long after, becoming the second newcomer to enter the 7th floor after Bai Haoxuan, and Lu Yun and Xiao Chen never went to the Wanxiang Tower again. The discussion about who among him, Lu Yun, and Xiao Chen was the strongest besides Bai Haoxuan stopped. The Wanxiang Tower is not open to the public at any time. Only 10 people can enter at a time. Today seems to be quite lively. There are many people on the Wanxiang Square. Many people are waiting for the opportunity to enter the Wanxiang Tower. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen are among them. They don't like or hate this lively scene. They just don't care. However, they don't know that someone has been paying attention to them secretly. Soon, the disciples who entered the Wanxiang Tower last time came out one after another. Among them were new disciples who had just entered the martial arts academy, and there were also many old disciples, but most of them were on the 6th or 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower, and the best was the 9th floor. The disciple who entered the 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower has been in the martial arts academy for 6 or 7 years. Although this result is better than other disciples, compared with his age and practice time, there is nothing amazing, and few people pay attention to it. Soon, it was finally Xiao Chen and Lu Yun's turn. Before entering the Wanxiang Tower, Xiao Chen said, "I wish you good results." "Come on, you too." Lu Yun smiled faintly and entered the Wanxiang Tower. In the crowd, Chen Tianqi had a complicated expression. He had a top-notch 4-star physique and a high talent. After only 3 months in the martial arts academy, he had already advanced from the peak of the martial arts realm to the late stage of the meridians. This progress was definitely among the best among the new disciples. However, his performance in the Wanxiang Tower was not as good as someone's performance 2 months ago. What was I thinking at the time? I actually offended Lu Yun together with Mu Qingyan, a waste. Chen Tianqi shook his head slightly and turned away. As for how many floors Lu Yun could reach in the Wanxiang Tower in the end, it had nothing to do with him. 2 months ago, he had come to his senses, calmed down his mind, and focused all his energy on cultivation. What about the overconfident Mu Qingyan, and what about the talented Lu Yun? All of this had nothing to do with him. In the lively and noisy Wanxiang Square, Chen Tianqi, who left silently, did not attract attention. Wanxiang Tower. Because his final performance before was stopped at the 6th floor, Lu Yun appeared on the 6th floor as soon as he entered the Wanxiang Tower. Last time, Lu Yun tried his best, almost exchanging injuries for injuries, and finally killed 8 monsters. Now, his strength has increased by more than 10 times. Seeing the 10 ferocious monsters in front of him again, Lu Yun sighed in his heart. Cultivation is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. 2 months ago, these 10 monsters were in the late second stage. Now, they are still in the late second stage. And Lu Yun has jumped from the early stage of Tongmei realm to the peak of Tongmei realm. His real strength is invincible in Tongmei realm. Roar. The moment the 10 monsters in the late second stage saw Lu Yun, they let out a deafening roar and rushed towards Lu Yun. In an instant, the demon power on the 6th floor of Wanxiang Tower surged like a surging sea. It's just an appearance. Lu Yun snorted coldly, drew his sword and slashed horizontally. The sword energy was like smoke and waves, and the power was like the raging sea. His sword has slashed real monsters, and they are 3rd level monsters. This monster evolved from the energy in the Wanxiang Tower. What is there to fear? The wild goose passes without a trace, the wind passes without a sound. The knife passes, ruthless. The tiger-headed big knife danced, and 2 or 3 knives killed a second stage late stage monster, extremely easy and simple. Not long after, the 10 second stage late stage monsters that once made Lu Yun break his sword and sink into the sand were solved by Lu Yun in just 2 or 3 strokes. Looking at the vortex portal that appeared in front of him, Lu Yun put his left hand in his pocket, held the knife with his right hand, and strode in domineeringly. The 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower is a new threshold, and I don't know how many disciples are stopped here. At the moment Lu Yun appeared, 2 huge monsters appeared almost at the same time. These are 2 wild boar-like monsters, with black hair all over their bodies, like black steel needles, and a gray horn on their heads, like a hard knife, flashing in the faint light. If the 10 monsters on the 6th floor of the Wanxiang Tower are the peaks that most disciples cannot climb, then the 2 strong and tough-looking one-horned wild boars on the 7th floor are the unreachable natural barriers. There is no doubt that these 2 one-horned wild boars are both 2nd-level peak monsters. This level of difficulty is enough to make most disciples in the Tongmei realm despair. Ho ho! The one-horned wild boar hissed and roared, and its huge eyes flashed with madness and irritability. After seeing Lu Yun, it became even more violent, and the black hair on its body like steel needles stood up. Oh, it's quite irritable. Lu Yun's eyes showed a little excitement. Boom! The 2 one-horned beasts ran away suddenly. Their huge and tough bodies did not limit their speed. On the contrary, after charging, their power became more terrifying and powerful. Lu Yun jumped and dodged. With a loud bang, 2 huge holes appeared on the spot, and smoke and dust rose up. The moment Lu Yun dodged, he immediately rushed towards the one-horned wild boar closest to him. Evil beast, die! Lu Yun roared. The whole person seemed to turn into a flash of lightning, and the tiger-headed sword in his hand flashed a cold light, and chopped directly at the neck of the one-horned wild boar. At this moment, another black shadow also attacked Lu Yun at the same time. The moment Lu Yun chopped down, his body flipped in the air, and the pure yang gangqi suddenly burst out, condensed on the tiger-headed sword, and chopped backhandedly. A sword energy about 10 feet long flew out, chopped the sturdy one-horned wild boar away. Chapter 51. After slashing the charging one-horned wild boar away with one strike, Lu Yun thought to himself, this one-horned wild boar is indeed a 2nd-level peak monster. Not only is it tall and fast, but it's a pity that your opponent is me. Lu Yun, who was at the peak of the Tongmei realm, not only had a terrifying level of strength, but his body reaction speed was also far faster than that of warriors of the same level. He could easily deal with the attack of the one-horned wild boar. Ho! The one-horned wild boar that was slashed away by Lu Yun seemed unaware of the gap between it and Lu Yun. After roaring, it quickly rushed towards Lu Yun again. Courage is admirable, but not praiseworthy. Lu Yun's body turned around flexibly, and he skillfully avoided the fatal collision of the one-horned wild boar. The tiger-headed sword in his hand also used the power of rotation to slash down instantly. Puff! The sword was as fast as lightning and as powerful as Mount Tai, and struck directly on the gray horn on the head of the one-horned wild boar. With a click, Lu Yun could clearly hear something hard breaking. Roar! The one-horned wild boar roared crazily, its scarlet eyes flashing with a soul-stirring cold light. It turned out that the gray sharp horn on its head was cut off by Lu Yun with a knife, and the pain made it almost go crazy. Whether it's defense, strength or speed, it's far behind the 3rd-level monster. Lu Yun commented, and immediately his body swayed, creating a phantom, avoiding the impact of the one-horned wild boar, with great force, and shot out a sharp sword instantly. Poof! This knife went down without much obstruction, and penetrated the hair, skin, flesh, muscles and bones of the one-horned wild boar's neck in sequence. Blood spurted out like a spring from the wound that was as flat as a mirror. The huge body of the one-horned wild boar fell heavily to the ground, its forelegs kicking unconsciously. As the blood surged, its breath gradually became fainter. Completely losing their breath, the corpses and blood on the ground instantly turned into dots of starlight and drifted away like light smoke. Although this was not the first time he had witnessed all this, Lu Yun still felt that this scene was both real and dreamy. Stepping into the whirlpool portal, Lu Yun's figure flashed and he appeared in a completely new environment. The 8th floor of Vientiane Tower. The monster beasts are still the peak one-horned boars of the 2nd level, but there are more of them, from 2 to 10. It shouldn't be a big problem, Lu Yun said lightly, and then disappeared from the spot. He did not directly collide with the 10 second level one-horned wild boars head-on. Instead, he flashed to the side of the opponent. With his amazing speed and flexible body, the long knife stably inserted from the throat of the one-horned wild boar's neck. With a burst of blood spurting out, Lu Yun's figure quickly retreated, avoiding a single horn attacking from the side. Immediately afterwards, Lu Yun stabbed a one-horned wild boar that rushed behind him through the eyes with his backhand. The strength and sword energy burst out at the same time, destroying its retina and brain center at the same time. In this way, after killing 2 one-horned wild boars in succession, Lu Yun felt a little incredible. On the 7th floor, it was very easy for him to kill the 2 one-horned wild boars. It didn't take much time. He just mobilized his pure yang qi a little, and with his super speed and powerful strength, he killed them forcefully, thus stepping on the road. Enter the 8th floor. But now, there are still 2 second-order peak one-horned wild boars, but they take less time and consume less energy. These one-horned wild boars seem to have weak points. Attacking the eyes and throat can get twice the result with half the effort. While Lu Yun was thinking, other one-horned wild boars attacked and killed him. He turned sideways and passed by the first one to rush, and the tiger-headed sword penetrated its weak abdomen. Lu Yun's eyes lit up when he felt the life of the one-horned wild boar gradually disappearing. Although the abdomen is not as fragile as the throat, eyes and other parts, it is still the weakest point of the one-horned wild boar. The best way to kill a monster is to find its weak point and then hit it with a fatal blow. Next, Lu Yun wandered among the other one-horned wild boars, constantly looking for their weak spots. Major weak points such as the eyes, anus, throat, and heart, as well as less critical parts such as the abdomen and neck. However, the one-horned wild boar moves very fast, so it is difficult to attack these vital parts, requiring precise control and flexible movement. As the one-horned wild boars fell one after another, Lu Yun's fighting skills gradually improved. When the last one-horned wild boar completely turned into energy and dissipated, Lu Yun's eyes became more determined and confident. Whether you are fighting monsters or warriors, you must make every attack of yours achieve maximum effect. The 9th floor of Vientiane Tower. As soon as he arrived, Lu Yun felt something strange. Looking up, dense black shadows came into view. Lu Yun glanced around and saw at least 50 wild boars, all of which were wild boars with a single gray horn on their heads. The powerful aura exuding from their bodies made them undoubtedly second-level peak monsters. Lu Yun could easily kill a second-level peak one-horned wild boar. 10 second-level peak one-horned wild boars can be killed with a little time and effort. However, there were 50 of them now, which made him feel a little numb. The mayfly shakes the big tree, it is so respectable that it cannot be overestimated. But if there are enough mayflies, not only big trees, but also mountains and even planets can be shaken. Although there are not many one-horned wild boars at the moment, they are not mayflies, but peak second-level monsters. Their overall strength is better than most Tongmei realm warriors. As expected, it is the 9th level that makes it difficult for those disciples who have cultivated in the true Qi realm. It is indeed a bit troublesome. Lu Yun's eyes flickered. Thinking of the techniques and methods he used in previous battles, he already had a measure in his mind. Even without the use of combat skills, Lu Yun was confident of killing these 50 monsters with his powerful strength. But that's not what he wants. He rose up with his sword and rushed over. The densely packed second-level peak monsters, when faced by ordinary Junshi realm warriors, would unconsciously cast a shadow in their hearts. Lu Yun not only had no fear in his heart, but instead launched an attack with full momentum. Draw the knife. Due to the inertia of the charge, the tiger-headed sword in Lu Yun's hand made a quick vertical slash from a high place, with a sharp whistling sound. The one-horned wild boar that bore the brunt seemed to realize that something was wrong and wanted to dodge. However, Lu Yun's knife was too fast and terrifyingly powerful. Coupled with the suppression of his aura, he slashed directly from the head of the unicorn monster. It was as if a ferocious tiger pounced, tearing the one-horned wild boar into pieces, and then crashed into the rest of the one-horned wild boars, raising a cloud of smoke and dust. Ho ho! Lu Yun's powerful attack did not scare these one-horned wild boars. On the contrary, it completely angered them and let out crazy and angry roars. Dozens of second-level peak one-horned wild boars roared in unison, and the roar was deafening, shaking the entire space on the 9th floor of the Vientiane Tower. Ho! Ho! One after another, the unicorn wild boars roared and rushed towards Lu Yun, their eyes flashing with bloodlust and madness, as if they would not stop until they tore the human in front of them to pieces. For the angry and crazy unicorn wild boars, Lu Yun just showed a faint smile on his face. Whoosh! His speed suddenly soared, and the vast pure yang energy increased the output. The powerful momentum frightened the unicorn wild boars who were close to him, and the hair on their bodies instantly stood up. Lu Yun rushed up instantly, stepping out strange steps under his feet, which was the body movement of the black tiger sword technique. When he got close, Lu Yun twisted his body, and the tiger-headed sword swept through the skin and flesh of the unicorn wild boar and pierced its throat. Puff! Blood gushed out, and an extremely powerful unicorn wild boar was solved again. Lu Yun quickly turned around, avoided the collision of another unicorn wild boar, and then looked for the next target. It was a one-horned boar that suddenly jumped up, swooping down with a gust of wind. Lu Yun immediately leaned back and almost brushed past it. At the moment of brushing past, the tiger-headed broadsword that turned into an arc just passed through the belly of the one-horned boar, leaving a long cut. After its huge body fell to the ground, there was no breath anymore. Roar! Two more one-horned boars rushed from both sides, their huge mouths and sharp horns were about to touch Lu Yun. Lu Yun flipped over, and kicked a one-horned boar on the head with great force, kicking it away. At the same time, the tiger-headed broadsword in his hand stabbed the head of another one-horned boar with a whistling sound. Puff! The long sword instantly pierced through the one-horned boar's eyes and the entire head. There were too many one-horned boars, and they were very fast and powerful. Even a strong man like Lu Yun had to be careful when dealing with them. If he was attacked by one of the unicorn wild boars, his body would not be able to bear it and he might fail at the 9th level. With his flexible body, Lu Yun moved among a group of violent unicorn wild boars. His mastered black tiger swordsmanship made him feel at ease, constantly looking for their weak points and then killing them with one sword. After spending some effort, he killed several more unicorn wild boars. Even so, there were still more than 30 unicorn wild boars around him. After a fierce battle, these unicorn wild boars became more bloodthirsty and crazy, and they did not look like monsters evolved from energy at all. Although my speed is good and the black tiger swordsmanship also has some body skills, it still seems a bit difficult to face the siege of so many monsters. It seems that I have to take some time to go to the library to find a body skill martial art. Originally, Lu Yun faced fewer enemies, and their strength was much weaker than his, so he did not pay much attention to body skills. He thought that his own burst speed was enough to deal with all battles. Until now, he realized the importance of body skills. Only by fighting continuously can one find his own shortcomings and weaknesses. Looking at the unicorn wild boars that were surging like an army, Lu Yun's eyes turned cold. From the current situation, only the most primitive fighting style is suitable. Immediately, Lu Yun stopped dodging, and the powerful qi in his body surged. The cold light on the blade flashed, and the knife energy overflowed. In an instant, one knife after another slashed wildly. Swish, 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 swish. I saw a long sword light flying out, and in the blink of an eye, Lu Yun slashed dozens of swords. Dozens of powerful sword lights rushed towards the large group of unicorn wild boars that were surging. This dense arc of sword light cut out, breaking the ground inch by inch, and the momentum was terrifying. Puff 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 puff. These dozens of sword lights were not only fast, but also powerful. When they cut through, they instantly cut the unicorn wild boar at the peak of the second level. After the sword flash, only 3 unicorn wild boars were left in the 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. The 3 unicorn wild boars that survived by chance were trembling with fear at the scene just now, which seemed particularly realistic. The pure yang qi in my body has been consumed by nearly half at once. This fighting method really can't be used often. After a fierce operation like a tiger, Lu Yun felt that his dantian was suddenly much emptier. Instantly slashed out dozens of terrifying sword lights that were more than 10 feet long. Only Lu Yun dared to play like this. If others dared to do this, their dantian would probably be scrapped instantly. No, it should be difficult to do. Because few people in the Tongmei realm have such vast qi as him. I have passed the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors of the Wanxiang Tower. If I pass the 9th floor again, it means that I have passed 4 floors in a row. This progress is too monstrous for others. Lu Yun's eyes flashed with brilliance. According to his strength, the 9th floor is not his end, and even the unknown 10th floor may not stop him. The first bird to stick out gets shot, and the local snake gets killed with a knife. You can be amazing, but not too much. If you are too exposed, it is easy to attract prying eyes or even disaster. Entering the 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower after only 3 months of admission is already high profile and amazing enough. Before you grow up completely, you have to keep a low profile appropriately, otherwise you won't even have the opportunity to grow. The current Wuyuan and Lingwu County are not safe cradles, and there are many forces secretly hostile to the court. When the water is full, it will overflow, and when the moon is full, it will wane. I have to hide my hands appropriately to prevent that eventuality. Lu Yun is not the kind of young boy who is ignorant of the world. He has a strong talent, has cheats that are hard for outsiders to imagine, and is also very powerful. But this strength is only relative to warriors of the same age and level. Thinking of this, Lu Yun has already made a decision in his heart. He put away the tiger-headed sword, put his hands behind his back, and slowly walked to the remaining 3 unicorn wild boars. Yes, he was ready to surrender and die bravely. But the next scene made him a little funny. The 3 unicorn wild boars that survived by chance were frightened and trembled and retreated backwards. Is this really the monster evolved from the Wanxiang Tower? Lu Yun was speechless. When he killed them, these unicorn wild boars were more ferocious than each other. When he waved his hand and offered his neck to be killed, they were more cowardly than each other. What the hell, pigs are so cowardly. Lu Yun complained in his heart and looked at the vortex portal in another corner. He guessed that it should be the exit of the Wanxiang Tower. Each floor of the Wanxiang Tower has an exit, but the entrance will only appear after all the monsters in the corresponding floor are killed. Stepping into the vortex portal, Lu Yun's figure slowly disappeared in the Wanxiang Tower. At this time, there was an uproar in the Wanxiang Square. Everyone looked at the Wanxiang Jade Wall in amazement, because just now, Lu Yun passed through the 6th, 7th and 8th floors of the Wanxiang Tower and entered the 9th floor. The dynamic information bar at the top of the Wanxiang Jade Wall has dynamic information switching at any time. The information that can be logged here is an event that caused a big sensation in the Wanxiang Tower and was enough to attract the attention of the Wanxiang Tower spirit. This includes people who have passed more than 3 floors in a row on the 10th floor and below the Wanxiang Tower. Some people have passed 2 floors in a row above the 10th floor and below the 20th floor. In addition, when someone enters the 20th floor and above of the Wanxiang Tower, there will be a report for each floor passed. Lu Yun passed 3 floors in a row. And when the information that he passed 3 floors in a row appeared on the Wanxiang Jade Wall, it was only a cup of tea from the time he entered the tower. Such a fast clearance speed is simply an appalling thing. Ma Yunfei looked at the slowly moving information on the Wanxiang Jade Wall with a blank face, his eyes full of shock and disbelief. How is this possible? How could Lu Yun pass the 8th floor? How could his strength be so strong? The pride and complacency in Ma Yunfei's heart were greatly hit at this moment. The originally calm face disappeared, replaced by shock and doubt. The difficulty of passing the Wanxiang Tower is getting higher and higher. Let alone the 10-second stage late-stage monsters on the 6th floor, even the disciples at the peak of Tongmei realm in the martial arts academy may not be able to defeat them. On the 7th floor, there are 2 second stage peak monsters, and even he, a genius with 5-star top-level physique, spent some means to solve them. The 8th floor of Wanxiang Tower is even more abnormal, with 10 second stage peak monsters. Only those who really face it know how terrifying it is. They are not creatures without any intelligence, stupid enough to wait for you to kill them slowly, but they know the tactics of sneak attacks and joint attacks. He, Ma Yunfei, the second among the new disciples, tried his best, but only killed 2 monsters, and finally lost regretfully. That is why he deeply knew that it was very difficult to pass the 8th floor of Wanxiang Tower. Lu Yun walked out of Wanxiang Tower. Under the sunlight, his face was white and smooth, revealing a sharp and angular coldness. At this moment, he was as dazzling as the sun and as cold as the bright silver moon. Everyone on the Wanxiang Square looked at Lu Yun with enthusiasm and curiosity, but when they saw the cold face and the indifferent, dark and deep ice eyes, they couldn't help but lower their heads. Even Ma Yunfei turned his head away and didn't dare to look at Lu Yun. Coincidentally, his eyes fell on the Wanxiang Jade Wall again, and when he saw a new message on it, his pupils shrank suddenly. What? Someone has passed 3 floors in a row again. It's Xiao Chen, he has also passed the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. The other disciples all cast their eyes on the Wanxiang Jade Wall. It was the news that Xiao Chen had passed the 6th, 7th and 8th floors of the Wanxiang Tower. This year's new disciples are so strong. Not to mention Ma Yunfei, who just passed the 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. 2 more people passed the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower today. It's really fierce. Counting by Haoxuan a few days ago, 3 new disciples have passed the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. At their speed, it won't be long before the Star Hall will have 3 more new disciples. Some old disciples were talking excitedly and shocked, and they also felt deep pressure. They have been in the martial arts academy for several years, but they are still lingering on the 7th and 8th floors. They are both yearning for the Star Hall and powerless. The 9th floor of the Wanxiang Tower is a mountain that is difficult to climb for them, and the 10th floor is an insurmountable natural chasm. Brother, do we still want to stay? Looking at Ma Yunfei with a lonely face, the disciple beside him whispered. Ma Yunfei turned his head again, no longer looking at the Wanxiang Jade Wall, and said in a hoarse voice. Let's go. The purpose of his staying here has been achieved, but the result is not what he expected, and even far exceeds his expectations. Thinking of his previous pride and complacency, he felt even more ashamed, and hurriedly quickened his pace, wishing to fly away from Wanxiang Square. In fact, as long as he improves his strength, he is sure to pass the 8th floor. But even if he can pass the 8th floor by chance, there is still a gap between him and Xiao Chen and Lu Yun. Whether it is Xiao Chen or Lu Yun, they started from the 6th floor and passed the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors in succession. In the Wanxiang Tower, you will hardly have a chance to breathe. Every time you pass a floor, the challenge of the next floor will start soon. Therefore, Lu Yun and Xiao Chen are equivalent to solving the monsters on the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors in one breath. This is not just as simple as passing the 8th floor. Therefore, Ma Yunfei looked so shocked and lost. The gap is really too big. Of course, if he knew that Lu Yun had left the Wanxiang Tower automatically after killing the monsters on the 9th floor, he would not be as simple as being distraught. After Lu Yun came out, he also saw the information on the Wanxiang Jade Wall that Xiao Chen had passed the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower. Lu Yun was not surprised at all. In Qingyan County, Xiao Chen was able to kill the Qi realm warriors of the White Lotus sect. After returning, after a period of seclusion, his strength was greatly improved. The 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower naturally could not stop him. The only thing Lu Yun was curious about was whether Xiao Chen could pass the 9th floor. There were 50 peak level 2nd level monsters on the 9th floor. Xiao Chen couldn't tell the winner for a while, and Lu Yun didn't leave. He simply checked his gains. Pass the 6th floor of the Wanxiang Tower and get 500 contribution points. Pass the 7th floor of the Wanxiang Tower and get 1000 contribution points. Pass the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower and get 1500 contribution points. 3 consecutive messages passed through the identity token. This time he entered the Wanxiang Tower and added 3,000 contribution points to him. So many contribution points were added at once. Lu Yun's eyes suddenly lit up. Together with the contribution points he got from the previous mission, the total contribution points were 4,445. Lu Yun's eyes looked at the majestic and towering Wanxiang Tower with burning eyes, and he thought to himself, "This is not only the best place for trials, but also a good place to get wool. I love it more and more." Not long after, Xiao Chen walked out of the Wanxiang Tower. His handsome face showed no sadness or joy, but the sharp eyes under his sword-like eyebrows exuded a strong fighting spirit, from which it can be seen that he had just experienced an extremely fierce battle. Under the attention of the crowd, Xiao Chen walked towards where Lu Yun was. "Stop at the 9th floor, what about you?" Lu Yun chuckled and said, "Like you, unfortunately lost at the 9th floor." "Is that so?" Xiao Chen took a deep look at Lu Yun, and then nodded lightly. At this time, a middle-aged man in black clothes and a beard walked over, immediately attracting the attention of all the disciples. The whole face of the middle-aged man in black clothes looked rough and indifferent. He ignored those disciples and walked straight through the crowd to Lu Yun and Xiao Chen. The indifference on the face of the middle-aged man in black subsided slightly, revealing a faint smile, and looked at Lu Yun and Xiao Chen with interest. Seeing this middle-aged man in black suddenly appearing in front of them, Xiao Chen and Lu Yun felt a powerful aura oppressing them at the same time. So strong, impossible to defeat. Lu Yun thought to himself. His current strength is enough to easily deal with warriors in the middle stage of the True Qi realm. Even if they are in the late stage of the True Qi realm, they may not be able to defeat him. But in front of this middle-aged man, he couldn't resist, which was enough to show the terror of this middle-aged man. At least he is also a strong man in Huayuan realm. Xiao Chen also felt the pressure coming towards his face, which made him feel weak and even his breathing became rapid. The afternoon sun shines on Vientiane Square, and the middle-aged man in black, Xiao Chen, and Lu Yun attract all the attention. At this time, the three of them stood quietly, motionless. However, it can be clearly seen that the middle-aged man in black is calm and gentle, with his hands behind his back and a faint smile on his face. Xiao Chen and Lu Yun gradually shed drops of sweat on their foreheads. The sweat drops are definitely not due to the strong sun and high temperature. "Which of you two little guys is Xiao Chen and who is Lu Yun?" After about 10 breaths, the middle-aged man in black put away his powerful aura, looked at Lu Yun and Xiao Chen with a pair of cloudy eyes with satisfaction, and asked with a smile. "Lu Yun, Xiao Chen." Lu Yun and Xiao Chen replied respectfully one after another. After the middle-aged man in black withdrew his oppressive aura, they all felt relaxed. At the same time, they looked at the middle-aged man in black with some respect. It is very necessary to maintain necessary respect for warriors who are far more powerful than yourself. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen were both outstanding among the new disciples, but they both knew this. What's more, they had personally experienced each other's strength before. Looking at the two well-behaved but dignified young men in front of him, the satisfaction in the eyes of the middle-aged man in black became even stronger. "Well, yes. As expected of a disciple who has passed the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower just 3 months after entering the Martial Arts Academy, he can still stand proudly under the pressure of my momentum." The middle-aged man in black praised me and then continued, "I am Chen Tianyan, you can call me Elder Chen. This time, the dean summoned me to bring you two to meet." Without waiting for Lu Yun and Xiao Chen to respond, Chen Tianyan said, "Let me go. The dean is busy with his affairs, so don't keep him waiting for a long time." Lu Yun and Lu Yun looked at each other and saw the confusion and curiosity in each other's eyes, but they still followed them quickly. Filing Martial Arts Academy covers a large area, and it took a full hour to get from Vientiane Square to the dean's training place. After passing a winding path, Lu Yun and the others soon saw a quiet and elegant courtyard. There are only 3 or 4 houses in the entire courtyard. There is a thick and towering tree in the center of the courtyard. Its open branches and leaves are like an open giant umbrella, sheltering the entire courtyard under its remaining shade. The gate of the courtyard was open, and under the big tree there was an old man lying on a couch with his eyes closed. The couch shook in a very even and regular manner, making a squeaking sound. The breeze blew gently, and a slightly yellow leaf slowly fell down. Just when it was about to fall on the old man's face, it suddenly stopped. At the same time, the wooden chair that had been shaking and squeaking stopped shaking. The old man slowly opened his eyes, looked at the yellowing leaves floating above his head, and said calmly, "Autumn is known only when the leaves fall. Is it because the leaves grow in autumn? Or because the leaves fall in autumn?" No one responded to him, only a wisp of breeze slowly took away the floating fallen leaves. "Dean, here we are." When he came to the door of the small courtyard, Chen Tianyan did not enter the door immediately but bowed his hands respectfully. "Come in." The old man's faint and experienced voice came from inside, and Chen Tianyan took Lu Yun and Xiao Chen into the small courtyard. Lu Yun curiously cast his gaze at the old man lying on the couch, and thought to himself, "Is this Yi Xingchen, the dean of Filing Martial Academy?" Yi Xingchen was lying flat on the couch. His specific body shape could not be seen, but from his wrinkled face, he could tell that he was a weathered old man. "Tianyan, you are still as vigorous and resolute as ever." Yi Xingchen sighed helplessly, and then slowly stood up from the chair. His movements seemed particularly slow. When the eyes fell on Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, a pair of absent-minded eyes under the wrinkled foreheads slowly glowed, turbid but warm, revealing a sense of peace and calm, as if silently telling others that this is a peaceful and ordinary old people. Chen Tianyan introduced Xiao Chen and Lu Yun to Yi Xingchen in turn. "Dean, these are Xiao Chen and Lu Yun. Xiao Chen has met the dean. Lu Yun has met the dean." Xiao Chen and Lu Yun both greeted Yi Xingchen obediently. They tried their best to show their maturity and stability, but under the old and turbid eyes, their true colors were revealed. "Ha ha ha, don't be formal, just treat me as an ordinary old man." Yi Xingchen looked at Lu Yun and Lu Yun with a smile, and the more he looked at them, the more satisfied he became. "Before you, I have met Bai Haoshuan. He is the first disciple of your generation to pass the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower. He has a good foundation and great potential. He does not have the 6-star root talent that would disappoint him." Lu Yun and Xiao Chen didn't know what Yi Xingchen wanted to express, so they didn't answer, but remained silent. Yi Xingchen took in the performance of the two and smiled faintly. "In fact, your performance is far beyond the expectations of me and the Martial Academy. Among the disciples of all previous years, the shortest time for disciples like you with 5-star aptitude to pass the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower is 5 months. But you two have shortened this record by 2 months. I have to say that your potential far exceeds your own aptitude." Lu Yun and Xiao Chen continued to remain silent, waiting for the other party's next words. As the cradle of the imperial court to cultivate strong people, the Wuyuan has never been stingy with potential and talented disciples. You two's performance in the Wanxiang Tower is enough to prove that your potential has exceeded the limit of 5-star roots, and is not inferior to those talented disciples with 6-star roots. This time I summoned you two to tell you the truth, or to set a goal. If you two can pass the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower within half a year, not only can you be promoted directly to the disciples of the Star Hall, but each of you will also be rewarded with a top-grade real weapon." When Lu Yun and the others heard this, their breathing suddenly stagnated, and their eyes showed a fiery look. "As long as you pass the 10th floor of the Wanxiang Tower within half a year, you will be rewarded with a real weapon, and it is a top-grade real weapon. Weapons below the level of real weapons have no grade, they are all ordinary weapons. From the kitchen knives to the sword that sharpens iron like clay, they are all ordinary weapons. The tiger head broadsword Lu Yun is currently using is a fine product among ordinary weapons. It can carry powerful pure yang qi and kill 3rd-level monsters without breaking. But even if the tiger head sword is the top ordinary weapon, it still has an upper limit. Once Lu Yun steps into the realm of true energy and refines the energy a few times or fights a few more times, he will be scrapped sooner or later. But real weapons are different. Real weapons can not only carry true energy, but also higher levels of true energy. Now, the old man with the highest status in Filing Martial Arts Academy has personally promised to reward them with a top-quality genuine weapon as long as they can pass the 10th floor of Vientiane Tower within half a year. This is definitely a huge reward for Lu Yun and Xiao Chen. Lure. Touching the tiger-headed sword behind him, Lu Yun showed a determined look in his eyes. If he were not afraid of causing too much noise, he would even want to immediately turn around the Vientiane Tower and kill through the 10th floor. "Why, do you two have confidence?" A kind smile appeared on Yi Xingchen's weathered face. Disciples must do their best. Lu Yun and Xiao Chen clasped their fists at the same time. Yi Xingchen nodded with a smile, stretched out his hand to stroke his gray beard, and looked at the distant sky with a pair of eyes full of vicissitudes of life, seeming to see all the stars in the sky. With Xiao Ming, you can know the end of the year when you see a fallen leaf. Old. Immediately, he just kept looking at the deep sky and said no more words. Dean, I'll take my leave now, Chen Tianyan said respectfully and took Lu Yun and Xiao Chen away. Just after leaving the house, the wooden couch began to shake again, and the creaking sound resounded in the courtyard, gradually drifting in all directions. After passing through the winding path and completely away from the dean's training place, Chen Tianyan said solemnly, "You should not look at the dean because he is old, but in terms of strength, no one in the entire Lingwu County can match him. Even looking at the entire Lingzhou, there are only a few people who can barely compete with the dean and the old man." Speaking of this, Chen Tianyan showed a proud look on his face. "May I ask the dean what state he is in?" Lu Yun suddenly asked. Chen Tianyan just glanced at Lu Yun lightly, shook his head slightly, and did not answer. Lu Yun just felt baffled by this, but it was hard to continue asking. Perhaps because he valued Lu Yun more, Chen Tianyan finally mentioned something. "The dean is now over 200 years old." When Lu Yun heard this, he didn't react immediately. After a full 10 breaths, a look of shock suddenly appeared on his face. Warriors at the True Qi realm and below do not live much longer than ordinary people, with a maximum lifespan of 100 years. Only after being promoted to the Huayuan realm, the true energy can be transformed into true essence, which can cleanse the physical body and increase lifespan. In the Huayuan realm, life can be extended by 10 years. After being promoted to the Yuan liquid realm, the Yuan Qi turns into liquid, and the true Yuan becomes more condensed and stronger, cleansing the physical body and extending the lifespan by 20 years. In the golden body realm, through practicing exercises, the mud body can be broken away and the golden body can be achieved, which will lead to a jump in body functions and increase the life expectancy by another 50 years. And this old dean has lived for more than 200 years. Within a few days, the news that 2 of the new disciples passed through the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower spread like wildfire and spread throughout the Filing Martial Academy. And Lu Yun and Xiao Chen have also become the new disciples after Bai Haoxuan, who have completely made the entire Filing Martial Academy famous. There are tens of thousands of disciples in Filing Martial Academy, which is a huge scale. Disciples whose names can be spread throughout Filing Martial Academy are either strong men who have left their names on the Jade Wall of all things, or geniuses like Bai Haoxuan who have 6-star bones. Like Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, there are very few, almost none, who are famous for their 5-star root bones. When those 5-star root disciples who entered the Martial Arts Academy at the same time as Lu Yun heard the news, they were all surprised. The 7th floor of the Vientiane Tower is already perverted enough, but Lu Yun and Xiao Chen were able to clear the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors in one go. They were really monsters. However, they have no jealousy, only envy and endless motivation. When the gap between each other is small, others will only be jealous. When the gap is large enough, jealousy will turn into envy. Within 3 months of being admitted to the hospital, Lu Yun and Xiao Chen, who had passed the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower, had completely distanced themselves from those 5-star bones and became the objects that others looked up to. So when they heard that Lu Yun and Xiao Chen passed the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower, they were very excited and had the idea of catching up in their hearts. With the same 5-star bones, Xiao Chen and Lu Yun can pass the 8th floor of the Vientiane Tower within 3 months. I don't believe that Wang Tang can't pass the 7th floor. In the small courtyard number 3013 of the elite disciple community, a young man in purple clothes with a majestic face strode out, pointing directly at the Vientiane Tower. HMPH, I haven't been to the Wanxiang Pagoda for a long time. Let's go today to see if Ma Yunfei is so virtuous that he can call himself the second person among the new disciples. At the same time, the area where ordinary disciples live is in a room. Click. Mu Qingyan, who was dressed in rich clothes and looked like a handsome young man, crushed the jade cup in his hand into pieces, and a trace of sinisterness flashed across his delicate face. Why are you, a little boy from a village, not only able to surpass me, but also able to steal the show even in a place like the Martial Academy where there are so many geniuses? A young man sitting opposite hurriedly said, "Qingyan, don't get angry. Lu Yun is no longer the same as before. Not only is he powerful, but he is also valued by the top leaders of the martial arts academy. If you offend him, your family and the forces behind you will suffer." Mu Qingyan subtly put away the vicious look on his face and replaced it with a helpless look. "I am just jealous of him, Lu Yun. Why can he have a smooth journey and his strength rise steadily without a family and resources? Now, he has passed the 8th floor of the Wanxiang Tower and become a celebrity in Filing Martial Academy and even the entire Lingwu County. And I, Mu Qingyan, have the resources of the entire family behind me, but I am still hovering in the early stage of Tongmei realm, and I can barely pass even the 2nd floor of the Wanxiang Tower." The young man in front of him shook his head with a complicated expression. It has something to do with whether there is family power and resource support. There are so many disciples in the martial arts academy, including many disciples from the aristocratic families of Lingwu County, but Lu Yun is unknown in the martial arts academy with many geniuses. However, he can catch up with Bai Haoxuan, who has 6-star bones. What does this mean? Just think about it. Quote. Mu Qingyan shook his head slightly and smiled bitterly. "I know all you said, and I know it very well, but I have witnessed his humbleness and weakness with my own eyes." Hearing this, the young man opposite him said anxiously, "Don't do anything that is beyond your ability." "Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. On the contrary, I will take some time to apologize to Lu Yun and beg for his forgiveness." "I feel relieved when you say that. You don't need to make friends with geniuses like Lu Yun, but you must never offend them." At this time, Lu Yun had already arrived at the library and went straight to the 2nd floor. The 1st floor of the library is free to enter, and the 2nd floor is full of top-grade martial arts, which requires 10 contribution points to enter. This is naturally not worth mentioning for Lu Yun, who has a huge contribution value. Compared with the 1st floor, the number of people on the 2nd floor of the library is much smaller. The 2nd-level martial arts are all top-notch martial arts, and their power and value are higher than those of 1st-class martial arts. Those top combat martial arts and body skills consume far more energy than 1st-class martial arts. Even if ordinary Tongmei realm warriors succeed in practicing, they will consume a lot of their own energy. Therefore, generally only warriors above the true Qi realm will choose to practice top martial arts. In the martial arts academy, the number of disciples in the true Qi realm and the disciples in the Tongmei realm are about the same. However, the disciples who can be promoted to the true Qi realm are those who have been in the martial arts academy for a long time, and they have already practiced suitable martial arts. Top martial arts are of high value and difficult to practice, and most disciples can only practice 1 or 2. Lu Yun went directly to the martial arts area of Shenfa. Still can only see the name and introduction of martial arts. Lingbo Weibu. Based on the 8864 hexagrams, the practitioner walks in the direction of the hexagrams in a specific order, walking exactly in a large circle from the 1st step to the last step. This step method is exquisite, strange and unpredictable. Wind God Step. By practicing this step, your body becomes soft and erratic, and you walk silently, like the god of wind coming to the world. The divine power is ever-changing. If you practice to perfection, you can travel thousands of miles in a day. When facing the enemy, his body movements are as flexible as a loach, walking among the masters without even a leaf touching his body. Lu Yun was not in a hurry, so he looked at it carefully. Shenfa is different from other martial arts. Even if you master it, the increase in strength is far less obvious than other combat martial arts. In addition, its training difficulty is not as difficult as other martial arts, so most people are not willing to waste time practicing Shenfa. Lu Yun has a panel, and as long as he has enough energy, he can quickly increase it. But this does not mean that he chooses a movement method at will. Only the one that suits him is the best. It is worthy of being the library of the Martial Arts Academy. There are dozens of top-level martial arts techniques. After looking at everything, Lu Yun was wandering between the Skylight Cloud Shadow Step and the Gale Lightning Step. Lu Yun liked both of these two movements, and it was hard to decide for a while. Although the Skylight Cloud Shadow Step is also very good, the Gale Lightning Step is more suitable for my fighting style. Lu Yun is not the kind of person who is hesitant. On the contrary, he is very decisive. He makes a decision quickly. With his body skills in place, Lu Yun walked to the inner martial arts training area. The next stage of reaching the pinnacle of the Tongmei realm is to advance to the true Qi realm and refine the true Qi. Now that he has perfected his pure Yang Gang Qi and entered the pinnacle of Tongmei realm, it is time to choose a top martial arts and refine his Gang Qi. There are only a dozen martial arts schools for refining true energy, but those that can be collected in the martial arts library are the best of the best. Xuanshui refining method, fire refining method, Changchun refining method, heavy earth refining method, Jinyang refining method, ice refining method, etc. Each refining method has 9 refinements. In other words, as long as you practice any refining method to perfection, you can refine your true energy 9 times. Moreover, the Qi refined by each refining method has different effects. That is to say, after reaching the true Qi realm, the properties of true Qi will differ between different warriors. Because Lu Yun had cultivated pure Yang Gang Qi, and his Qi was extremely strong in Yang, he could only choose the Agni Fire refining method or the Golden Yang refining method. The Golden Yang refining method is relatively similar to the pure Yang Gang Qi, so just choose it. Well, at the peak of the Tongmei realm, you can refine your true energy. When Lu Yun took out the Gale Lightning Step and the Golden Sun refining technique, the elder in charge of guarding the library glanced at Lu Yun and nodded slightly. The top martial arts originals are not allowed to be taken out of the library. Wait a moment. The elder of Zangshu Pavilion put down 2 books on martial arts, said lightly, got up and walked inside. Within a dozen breaths, the other party reappeared with 2 gray-white books in his hand at the same time, which were the manuscripts of Gale Lightning Step and Jinyang refining method. The Gale Lightning Step has a contribution value of 750, and the Golden Sun refining technique has a contribution value of 1000. In addition, the manuscript must not be spread or damaged, and must be returned within 1 month. Otherwise, the punishment will be determined depending on the severity of the case. In severe cases, the cultivation level will be revoked and the person will be revoked. Get out of the martial arts academy. The elder of Kang's spoke indifferently, as if he didn't recognize Lu Yun, a disciple who was famous in the martial arts academy. Lu Yun responded, took out his identity token, crossed out 1,750 contribution points, and then left heartbrokenly. Less than half of the contribution points were consumed in one go. It would be a lie if Lu Yun was not heartbroken. This is just the beginning. Exchange 1 more Zumi bag, and exchange all the rest for elixirs. Lu Yun thought to himself. After making a decision, Lu Yun quickened his pace and came to the weapons building. In less than half a cup of tea, he walked out of the weapon building. At the same time, he had a purple Zumi bag around his waist, and his contribution value was reduced by 300. After that, we went to the elixir house. What Lu Yun exchanged was still the Tongmei pill. Tongmei Dan, 1 bottle worth 120 contribution, Lu Yun exchanged for 20 bottles. Originally, there were still 5 contribution points missing, but after some hard work from Lu Yun, the result was naturally needless to say. After a 1-day trip to the library pavilion, weapon building, and pill building, not a single contribution of more than 4,000 was left. Lu Yun only felt heartbroken, but had no regrets. He left the elixir building quickly and couldn't wait to go back and improve himself. In the training room of the small courtyard, Lu Yun sat cross-legged, took out the Tongmei pill from the Zumi bag, and was about to convert it into energy value. Dong dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door outside. Who is this guy who doesn't have eyesight? Lu Yun frowned slightly, feeling very unhappy, but he still went out and opened the door. Squeak. The courtyard door opened and I saw a slightly familiar person. It was Mu Qingyan who had troubled him many times before. It's you. Why, are you preparing to challenge me? Lu Yun's lips curved slightly and he smiled playfully. He had no good impression of Mu Qingyan in the first place. In addition, this guy disturbed me without knowing what he was doing, so naturally he would not give him a good face. Brother Lu, there may be some misunderstandings between us. Mu Qingyan had a smile on his face and smiled rather shyly. If he didn't know who he was, he would have thought he was a shy and reserved young man. Oh, is that so? Lu Yun leaned against the door, stroking his chin with his right hand, and said thoughtfully, but don't we have a lot of misunderstandings? The first time was in Yunshui County, and the second time was at Vientiane Tower. No matter which time it was you who took the initiative to trouble me. Mu Qingyan showed a rather remorseful look and said with a wry smile, at that time, I didn't know the heights of the world. I relied on my little talent and the fact that I had never encountered any setbacks in Yunshui County, so I thought arrogantly. The whole world revolves around me, and I have developed an arrogant character. This is why I offended Brother Liu, and I really shouldn't. After entering the martial arts academy, I realized that there are people outside the world, and there is a world outside the world. I regret my original behavior very much. Thankfully I woke up early, and now I deeply understand that Brother Liu's talents are 10 times that of mine. Even if I can't make friends with you, I can't offend you, so I came to visit you and resolve the original misunderstanding. Mu Qingyan didn't hide anything, he went straight to the point and stated his intentions. Lu Yun looked at Mu Qingyan with interest, trying to tell something from his face and expression. To his disappointment, Mu Qingyan's face was filled with a sincere smile. Sincerity, you can fool a kid, Lu Yun doesn't believe it at all. However, whether it is sincere or not, what does it have to do with him? From beginning to end, he never took Mu Qingyan seriously. At most, he was disgusted when he saw him, and when he didn't see him, he completely forgot that such a person existed. The real dragon only has other real dragons in his eyes. As for the little snake that once mocked him from afar, he always looked down on it. Whenever he was unhappy with the little snake, he would easily strangle it to death. Since it's just a little misunderstanding, it's no big deal. You can leave. After saying that, Lu Yun glanced at the other party and pretended to close the door. Wait, Brother Liu, we are all from Yunshui County. We usually don't see each other, so I came here with sincerity to clear up the misunderstanding. Mu Qingyan squeezed into the door and took out a bottle of Tongmei Dan from his arms while speaking. Brother Liu, this is my sincerity, please accept it. When he saw the porcelain bottle that he was very familiar with, Lu Yun's eyes suddenly lit up and a smile appeared on his face. Haha, Brother Mu said so, if I don't accept it, it's really not right. Lu Yun sighed. Haha, I really regret that our misunderstanding was a little small at the beginning. Haha, Brother Liu is really a joker. This bottle of Tongmei pill has consumed most of my cultivation resources. If there are more misunderstandings, I'm afraid I will go bankrupt. Seeing that Lu Yun finally stopped smiling in a weird way, Mu Qingyan also relaxed a lot. My place is a bit simple, and I don't have anything to entertain you, so I won't keep you. After accepting the Tongmei pill, Lu Yun issued an order to expel the guest. Okay, I'll visit Brother Liu again when I have the chance. After saying that, Mu Qingyan left quite tactfully. After completely disappearing from Lu Yun's sight, the smile on his face instantly withdrew, and his eyes were filled with indifference and murderous intent. Lu Yun, sooner or later I will get back what I lost 10 times or 100 times. In the past, he only lost his sense of superiority. Now, he has lost his cultivation resources and even his dignity. Looking back from a distance, Mu Qingyan resolutely turned and left. If you really want to clear up the misunderstanding with me, it means you have changed to a sensible person. If you want to dispel my concerns with a bottle of Tongmei pill, then it's interesting. Playing with the bottle of Tongmei pill in his hand, Lu Yun whispered to himself. After the episode, Lu Yun returned to the room and began to convert the Tongmei pill into energy value. 21 bottles, a total of 210 Tongmei pills. It takes some time to completely convert it into energy value. Hey, if I could refine it directly. Lu Yun looked at the huge number of Tongmei pills in front of him and sighed deeply. At first, taking Tongmei pills felt like eating candy, and he enjoyed it very much. But as he took more and more Tongmei pills, he gradually developed aversion to pills. With a try-it attitude, Lu Yun circulated his qi, wrapped around an transparent Tongmei pill in his hand, and tried to refine it. +8 energy value. The panel suddenly showed a prompt of increased energy value, which made Lu Yun stunned. Soon, a smile gradually bloomed on his face. Whatever you think, this panel is a bit humanized, 5-star praise. Enjoy. Lu Yun directly took out all the Tongmei pills, placed them in front of him, and then circulated his qi and began to refine them. 210 Tongmei pills were all refined by him in less than half an hour. If it were in the past, it would be unimaginable. By chance, he explored a new function of the panel, and the heartache he had felt because all the contribution points were consumed before was instantly relieved a lot. No need to take it, you can directly refine the pill and convert it into energy value. This discovery is very important to Lu Yun. Then, he opened the panel and looked at the information on it. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Arts Academy. Martial Arts: Broken Wind Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Hunyuan Gong Dongzhen, cannot be upgraded. Pure Yang Gangchi Perfect 5%, 7 Killing Sword Technique Perfect 2%, Black Tiger Sword Technique Great Success 13%. Root Bone, 5 stars. Martial Arts: Peak of Tongmei Realm, 12 meridians. Energy value: 1680. It's time to upgrade Pure Yang Gangchi and 7 Killing Sword Technique. Well, no, these two big consumers of energy value, I don't know if they can be upgraded to the highest level. You have to upgrade the Fierce Wind and Lightning step to the small success level first. With my current Gangchi, there should be no pressure to use the Fierce Wind and Lightning step at the small success level. After thinking for a while, Lu Yun took out the Fierce Wind and Lightning step and began to look through it. As his realm improved, his memory also improved accordingly. Not long after, he memorized all the formulas of Fierce Wind and Lightning step. At the same time, the words, Fierce Wind and Lightning step, not yet entry level, appeared in the martial arts column on the panel. After consuming 25 energy points, a memory instantly emerged in Lu Yun's mind. In his memory, he slowly explored and began to practice according to the formula of Fierce Wind and Lightning step. After practicing for 10 days, his body movement and speed increased greatly, and Fierce Wind and Lightning step was also promoted to the entry level. After the memory absorption was completed, Lu Yun felt that his body seemed to have changed and became lighter. At the same time, the progress of the cultivation of the Fierce Wind and Lightning step on the panel was raised to the entry level 1%. After consuming another 50 energy points, a memory appeared in Lu Yun's mind again. In the memory, after he cultivated the Fierce Wind and Lightning step to the entry level, he finally raised the Fierce Wind and Lightning step to the minor level after perceiving natural phenomena such as wind and thunder and practicing hard for nearly a month. After the memory absorption was completed, Lu Yun felt that he became more sensitive to the wind. Even in the room, he could feel the flow of the wind. Lu Yun walked out of the small courtyard, performed his body skills, and disappeared in an instant. After leaving the residence of the elite disciples, Lu Yun used all his strength to perform the Fierce Wind and Lightning step at the minor level, and his speed suddenly increased, like riding the wind and thunder, and soon left the valley and came to the back mountain of Filing Martial Academy. Is this the Fierce Wind and Lightning step at the minor level? It's several times faster than my previous full-strength burst. The only flaw is that it consumes a lot of energy. It took half an hour to get from the valley where the elite disciples lived to the back mountain of the Martial Arts Academy, and the energy in my body was almost consumed by 10%. Lu Yun's 10% of energy is equivalent to about 70% to 80% of other martial artists at the same level. This consumption is too terrifying, and only a pervert like Lu Yun can support it. No wonder the Martial Arts Academy has such strict control over the best martial arts. With the use of the Fierce Wind and Lightning step, Lu Yun felt that his understanding and control of it had improved a lot, and it was not as awkward as it was at the beginning. The area of the back mountain is relatively large, and Lu Yun has never been here before. He used the Fierce Wind and Lightning step with all his strength and shuttled through the dense forest. There seemed to be a flash of thunder under his feet, and when the strong wind blew past him, it seemed to be burning continuously, leaving a long tail flame. Maybe because he was in a good mood, Lu Yun felt that the sunshine in the back mountain was extremely bright and warm. He used his footwork to run and sprint unrestrainedly. Passing through the dense forest and across the valley, Lu Yun came to a small lake. Without stopping, Lu Yun sprinted without hesitation. One step landed on the lake, causing layers of ripples to spread, and the next step was taken, and layers of waves spread. In this way, Lu Yun ran on the lake at a very fast speed. If someone saw it, they would be very surprised that someone could walk on the lake as if it were flat ground. Only warriors at the Huayuan realm and above can do this. The true chi of the Huayuan realm warriors is transformed into true essence, and the control of the body is fine and subtle, so that they can walk on the waves easily. And Lu Yun is only at the peak of the Tongmei realm, 2 realms away from the Huayuan realm. Landing steadily on the other side of the lake, Lu Yun looked back and was immediately surprised. He had stepped across the lake that was dozens of feet wide without realizing it. It was incredible. He had heard before that a strong man crossed the river with a reed. Now, he could cross the lake that was dozens of feet wide without the help of anything. Doesn't that mean that he is now even stronger than the strong man who crossed the river with a reed in the previous rumor? He shook his head slightly. Crossing the river with a reed was a story in the novels of his previous life. Now, he was in a fantasy world. According to his current understanding, it was not difficult for a warrior to fly to a certain level, not to mention flying in the clouds. The two were simply incomparable. Although the fierce wind and lightning steps are important, my foundation is still the gangchi and swordsmanship. Lu Yun glanced around and prepared to find a comfortable place to increase the pure yang gangchi and the 7-killing swordsmanship. At this moment, his ears suddenly moved, and he faintly heard the sound of fighting in the distance, which seemed to be in the east of the lake. Is it possible that I am so lucky that I have encountered the legendary killing and treasure-stealing incident? A gleam of brilliance flashed in Lu Yun's eyes, and he quietly moved towards the direction where the fighting sound came from. Hee, let me see if I can fish in troubled waters. Lu Yun hid in a big tree, gently pushed away the dense leaves in front of him, and his bright eyes rolled around. In the distance, two figures moved quickly by the lake, and the swords collided, making a clanging sound. The powerful battle fluctuations made the lake surface turbulent. When Lu Yun entered the martial arts realm, he broke through the limit twice, and his vision was greatly improved. He could see even a mosquito hundreds of meters away very clearly. But the two people fighting were extremely fast, and the air was constantly roaring, so Lu Yun, who had excellent eyesight, could not see the faces of the two people for a while. He could only see two figures, one purple and one white, flashing constantly. However, judging from the figures of the two people, they were not very old, about 16 or 17 years old. But their strength was extremely strong. Even from a distance, Lu Yun could feel the powerful auras of the two people. Remnant moon frost slash. The white figure suddenly shouted, and the sword light was like a waning moon across the sky, as if it came from the cold winter, scattering light like ice and snow, flashing by, and the coldness suddenly dropped. The powerful waves that had originally been raised on the lake surface suddenly condensed into ice cones with bared fangs and claws, stabbing towards the purple figure in the distance. Jinghong destruction slash. The purple-clothed boy had no fear at all. He held the knife with both hands, and the knife light burst out, slashing out horizontally. Jinghong's knife was like a blue dragon coming out of the sea, raising a gust of wind, carrying the invincible power of destroying everything and smashing the ice cones. The swords collided, the metal and iron rang, and the harsh sound penetrated the gold and cracked the stone, bursting out countless sparks. At the same time, the powerful knife and sword energy overflowed, and the jungle beside the lake was cut into pieces. After the two men each burst out with the strongest attack, their figures flew out backwards. The distance between the purple-clothed youth and Lu Yun's hiding place was instantly shortened. It's him. But when he saw the handsome face of the purple-clothed youth, Lu Yun finally recognized him. The purple-clothed youth was Meng Hongfei, who had presided over the assessment in Yunshui County in the past. Although several months have passed, the opponent's powerful knife that killed the Yuan-transforming realm expert is still vivid in his mind. Come out. Meng Hongfei's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he casually chopped a knife. The 10-foot-long knife light, with a powerful force, chopped down towards the big tree where Lu Yun was hiding. Boom! The big tree fell down with a bang, and the knife light continued to move forward, cutting a long gully on the ground. Looking at the neat incision and the several-foot-long gully on the ground, Lu Yun immediately took a breath of cold air. What a close call. If he hadn't reacted quickly just now, the tree would have been his fate. Whoosh! Meng Hongfei flashed and landed in front of Lu Yun, saying coldly, "Who are you? Why are you spying on our competition?" Being caught on the spot, Lu Yun could only smile awkwardly. This junior brother is quite powerful. He was able to dodge the knife just now. It seems that it won't be long before the Star Hall will have another genius. At some point, the young man in white appeared beside Meng Hongfei. He looked at Lu Yun and said with interest, not caring about the previous things at all. This time, Lu Yun carefully looked at this young man who was as powerful as Meng Hongfei. The white clothes were whiter than snow, and under the sword-like eyebrows, the narrow eyes were like the gurgling spring water, warm as the spring breeze, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, which made the man look more romantic and unrestrained. He and Xiao Chen are both geniuses in swordsmanship, but he is not as cold and sharp as Xiao Chen, especially the smile on his lips, which makes people approach him easily. Please forgive me, my two senior brothers. I accidentally came here because of my physical training. I was attracted by the noise of your fight. I didn't mean to secretly spy on your competition. Lu Yun apologized with a fist. It's okay. Brother Meng and I are competing here. I just don't want to be disturbed by others. Since I bumped into you by chance, it's not your fault. The young man in white waved his hand and smiled. Meng Hongfei looked at Lu Yun carefully. Gradually, the cold expression on his face gradually subsided. He said suspiciously, "Are you junior brother Lu Yun?" "Yes, I am Lu Yun." Lu Yun smiled and said, "I didn't expect that after so long, senior brother Meng still remembered me. I feel honored." This is not Lu Yun's courtesy. After entering the martial arts academy, his strength increased sharply, resulting in a lot of increase in his height and a lot of immaturity on his face. People who are not familiar with him may not recognize him. Meng Hongfei said strangely, "When I was in Yunshui County, I expected that you would make a big splash after entering the martial arts academy, but I didn't expect that you would not only make a big splash, but also soar to the sky." "Haha, senior brother Meng is making fun of you." Lu Yun smiled modestly, without any pride. "Why, you are Lu Yun, and you know brother Meng." The young man in white stood aside, full of surprise. Obviously, he had also heard of Lu Yun's reputation during this period. "Last time I went to Yunshui County to carry out a mission, I also presided over the enrollment assessment of Yunshui County. Lu Yun was one of the disciples from Yunshui County who passed the assessment." Meng Hongfei explained lightly, and at the same time he sighed in his heart. "I didn't expect that you two knew each other like this. In this way, you can be regarded as Lu Yun's leader. However, you are a little incompetent as a leader. You almost seriously injured my junior brother." The white-clothed boy looked at Meng Hongfei with a playful look, which made the latter blush. Meng Hongfei, who was always cold and aloof, rarely showed such an awkward look, which made the white-clothed boy laugh. Immediately, the white-clothed boy blinked at Lu Yun again and said with a smile, "My name is Qin Yun, and junior brother Lu is Lu Yun. There is a word, Yun, in our names. It seems that we have a deep fate. We should get closer in the future. Haha, meet senior brother Qin." Facing such a warm Qin Yun, Lu Yun was also happy in his heart and greeted him with a smile. Meng Hongfei, who was standing aside, curled his lips in disdain and said proudly, "If even this can be related to fate, then there are many people in the martial arts academy who are destined to be with you. What, brother Meng, do you want to continue the competition with me?" "Well, the competition just now has not been decided yet, let's continue." After that, Qin Yun's smile faded, and he became solemn and serious, making a gesture of drawing a sword. HMPH. Meng Hongfei snorted coldly, holding the knife in both hands, turned his face away with disdain, and looked like he was too lazy to compete with you. The breeze blew across the lake, raising layers of ripples, and under the sunlight, the lake surface sparkled. Lu Yun did not care about it, crossed his chest, and quietly stood aside to watch the show. He had accidentally encountered it before, and could only hide in the distance and watch secretly. As for now, he can watch the competition between the two openly. Whether it is Meng Hongfei or Qin Yun, he can't see through their realm. 3 months ago, Meng Hongfei was able to kill a warrior in the Yuanhua realm. Even if he is not in the Yuanhua realm now, he is not far away. Watching the battle between two people of such strength should be rewarding. At this time, Meng Hongfei's figure suddenly trembled, and his face said strangely, "I remembered that there is one thing I haven't done. Today's competition is temporarily like this. We will decide the winner tomorrow." After that, he said to Lu Yun, "Brother Lu, see you tomorrow." After that, Meng Hongfei used his body skills, turned into a white light, and left quickly. Walking so fast, like running away, this is not like his usual style. Looking at the afterimage that disappeared on the spot, Qin Yun touched his chin, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked thoughtful. As if sensing something, Qin Yun looked in the direction Meng Hongfei had seen before. His body suddenly stiffened, and then he burst into speed and chased in the direction Meng Hongfei left. Junior brother Lu, practice well. I look forward to fighting you one day. The voice was still spreading by the lake, but Qin Yun's back had completely disappeared from Lu Yun's sight. What are these two doing? They always disappear and run so fast. Are they trying to show off their skills in front of me? Lu Yun murmured, and when he was about to leave, he suddenly felt that someone was coming here quickly. It was a woman in white, with black hair draped naturally, and skin as white and delicate as white jade. Under the sunlight, there was a crystal luster, an oval face, long eyelashes blinking from time to time, and eyes sparkling like crystals. Suddenly seeing such a beautiful woman walking towards him, Lu Yun was a little confused and looked at her in surprise. As for the woman, after seeing that there was only Lu Yun, in addition to surprise, there was also anger, but she didn't show it. Little brother, are you alone? The woman in white came over with a smile on her face, her eyes blinking as if she could speak, and her bright red lips and neat teeth were like white pearls, very touching. Hello, little sister, I'm the only one here. Lu Yun smiled shyly. Although many people died in his hands, his bright eyes were clear, black and white, and looked clean and pure, making people feel very innocent and simple. Such a shy little brother, actually lied, it's a bit bad. The woman in white chuckled, her eyes were flowing like water, her eyelashes trembled, and her white face was shining with a crystal-like luster. Lu Yun scratched his head and said in a wrong tone, I didn't lie. I am the only one here. Then he glanced around to make sure that he was not lying. When he saw the graceful woman in white in front of him, he quickly changed his words, oh, that's not right. There is one more person now, and that's you. While speaking, his eyes rolled around, and his eyes were clear without a trace of impurities, which naturally made people feel good and trustful. But he thought to himself, Meng Hongfei and Qin Yun fled one after another. Could it be related to this woman? Suddenly, the woman in white moved, her white clothes fluttering, and the whole person came in front of him as if teleporting. She waved her white jade arm and hit Lu Yun with a palm with a faint fragrance. Lu Yun was shocked. Why did she suddenly attack when she was fine at the beginning? But he reacted very quickly, and he was not the kind of person who would not fight back when being beaten. Once he started fighting, the innocence and simplicity he had pretended to have disappeared instantly, replaced by a kind of sharpness and edge. Boom! A powerful burst of energy, the silent momentum made the air roar. Lu Yun stretched out his right arm, drew a beautiful trace in the air, gathered strength, and grabbed the crystal jade arm. When it was about to touch, a powerful recoil force burst out, shaking Lu Yun's figure back sharply, and his feet drew a long trace on the ground. Lu Yun never thought that such a beautiful woman had such a strong strength, and he couldn't catch a casual palm. After Lu Yun was knocked out, the woman in white did not continue to chase, but just gathered her black hair, revealing her elf-like white ears, and smiled. Little brother, don't lie to your sister again, although you are strong, but if I really move, you can't resist. Lu Yun looked at the woman in white and said innocently, I really didn't lie, there are only you and me here now. The woman in white didn't say anything, but just looked at Lu Yun with a smile, which made Lu Yun uncomfortable. There is no way, the strength is not as good as others, so I can only be cruel and say, if I lie, I will be struck by 5 thunders. The woman in white smiled, and her eyes like autumn water looked around, and then said with a smile, don't say that these traces of battle were made by you alone, and there are obviously traces of sword energy here. Oh, so, Lu Yun smiled and said embarrassedly, there were indeed 2 people competing here before, but they left a long time ago. Seeing the playful smile on the face of the woman in white, Lu Yun quickly added, I didn't lie, there are indeed only 2 of us here now. Seeing Lu Yun's cowardly look, the woman in white smiled, her big watery eyes sparkling, making her look very charming. The weapons used by the 2 were swords, right? Yes, I also know who they are, Meng Hongfei and Qin Yun. But just before you came, the 2 left quickly one after another, as if someone was chasing them. Since it was impossible to hide it, Lu Yun simply went all out and sold out Meng Hongfei and Qin Yun completely. Very good, the 2 of them deliberately avoided me. The woman in white was so angry that she stomped her feet, blinking her eyes like autumn water, and her smooth jade face was full of anger. Obviously, she was really angry this time. The breeze blew gently, and 3 or 2 strands of black and shiny hair fell on her fair face, making her look very moving. Lu Yun didn't dare to look at the other party. He was not as strong as the other person, and now he was angry, so he didn't dare to provoke him easily. Don't you see, Meng Hongfei and Qin Yun, who were stronger than him, fled as fast as rabbits after noticing this woman. As if she realized that there was someone beside her, the woman in white quickly recovered, her face was full of smiles again, and she looked at Lu Yun and said, "My name is Qin Shuangshe, what's your name, little brother?" "My name is Lu Yun." Lu Yun answered very straightforwardly, but secretly complained in his heart that women are really fickle animals. The last moment it was cloudy, and the next moment it was cloudless. "Okay, Lu Yun, you are a very sensible little brother, I will remember you." Qin Shuangshe smiled sweetly, and then left a graceful back to Lu Yun and disappeared. "Oh, you ran so fast." The clear water on the lakeside was rippling, and the white clouds were rolling in the sky. Lu Yun, whose figure gradually became taller, smiled calmly, and his handsome face exuded a calm temperament, as if he was not as immature and innocent as before. Being young is good. With a sigh, Lu Yun moved slightly and went to the north of the lakeside. Meeting Meng Hongfei, Qin Yun and Qin Shuangshe was just a small episode. This also made Lu Yun realize a reality. He had made great progress, but he still had a long way to go in the martial arts academy. Whether it was Meng Hongfei, Qin Yun, or Qin Shuangshe, any one of them was stronger than himself now. Lu Yun, who performed the fierce wind and lightning step, was very fast, not much slower than Meng Hongfei and others. The towering trees, bushes, strange rocks and flowers kept retreating from behind him. At some point, Lu Yun had come to the top of a very high mountain. Standing on this highest mountain top, the clear mountain breeze blew unimpeded, and the pine forests on the mountain sang softly with the sound of the wind, making Lu Yun feel that it was too cold at high places. However, only by climbing to the highest point can you enjoy the scenery of overlooking all the mountains. Lu Yun looked down from far to near. The edges of the 4 corners of the mountain top are steep cliffs, on which strange pines and ancient vines are entangled. In the distance, the faint autumn mountains are scattered in all directions, as if they were painted with a brush. The rolling mountains inlaid in the sky reflect the glittering golden light under the setting sun, which looks particularly magnificent, like a beautiful picture. Lu Yun closed his eyes, opened his hands, enjoyed the breeze blowing across his face, and bathed in the last sunset that lingered in the sky. After a long time, when the last ray of sunset completely disappeared from the distant sky, Lu Yun slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were as bright as stars, exuding a strange sharpness and edge. It's time to improve the Pure Yang Gangqi and the 7 Killings Sword technique. Some time ago, the Pure Yang Gangqi and the 7 Killings Sword technique were upgraded to the state of perfection, which caused quite a stir. If it is upgraded again, what kind of movement will be caused, Lu Yun has no idea. In order to avoid causing any more unexpected noises and attracting the attention of others, Lu Yun deliberately left to find a suitable place for improvement. Few people came to the back mountain, and this was the most uninhabited place in the back mountain. This was a great place for him to improve his martial arts. With the previous experience, Lu Yun knew the limit of his body's endurance. Consume 20 energy points, and the Pure Yang Gangqi will be improved to perfection 15%. Consume 20 energy points, and the Pure Yang Gangqi will be improved to perfection 25%. Consume 20 energy points, and the Pure Yang Gangqi will be improved to perfection 95%. Consume 20 energy points, and the Pure Yang Gangqi will be improved to Tongxuan 3%. At the moment when the Pure Yang Gangqi was improved to the Tongxuan realm, an extremely powerful force was born in the body, and then it swept across the body, with a rumbling sound, shaking the surrounding gravel and the sea of clouds. After the rumbling continued for half an hour, a tough and wide meridian gradually took shape, with the vast and majestic Pure Yang Gangqi flowing through it. The moment the 13th meridian was formed, the Pure Yang Gangqi in the Dantian surged again, increasing by about 20% on the original basis, surpassing the increase after any previous meridian was opened. What surprised Lu Yun was that this newly opened meridian was not any of the 12 meridians in the human body. The 12 meridians are also the 12 main meridians, namely the 3 yin meridians of the hand Taiyin lung meridian, the hand Julian pericardium meridian, and the hand Shaoyan heart meridian. The 3 yang meridians of the hand Yangming large intestine meridian, the hand Shaoyang triple burner meridian, and the hand Taiyang small intestine meridian, the 3 yang meridians of the foot Yangming stomach meridian, the foot Shaoyang gallbladder meridian, and the foot Taiyang bladder meridian, and the 3 yin meridians of the foot Taiyin spleen meridian, the foot Juyin liver meridian, and the foot Shaoyan kidney meridian. The limit of the meridians that a warrior can open is 12 meridians. Now, Lu Yun has raised the pure yang qi to the Tongshuan realm, and has broken the limit of the 12 meridians, and a new meridian has appeared. Excited, Lu Yun opened the panel. Name: Lu Yun. Affiliation: Filing Martial Arts Academy. Martial Arts: Broken Wind Sword Technique Perfect, cannot be upgraded. Hunyuan Gong Dongzhen, cannot be upgraded. Pure Yang Qi Tongshuan 5%, 7 Killing Sword Technique Perfect 2%, Black Tiger Sword Technique Great Success 13%, Fierce Wind Lightning Step Minor Success 1%. Root Bone, 5 stars. Martial Arts: Tongmei Peak 13 meridians, 12 main meridians, Ren Yin Meridian. Energy Value: 1405. Ren Yin Meridian. Seeing the changes in the meridians on the panel, Lu Yun's expression condensed, thinking, is this the Ren Meridian of the Ren and Du Meridians? In the Taoist practice system of the previous life, the Ren Meridian is the Sea of Yin Meridians, and the Du Meridian is the Sea of Yang Meridians. If the Ren and Du Meridians are unblocked, then all meridians will be unblocked. Not only will the cultivation level advance by leaps and bounds, but the physical condition will also be improved. Thinking of this, Lu Yun was immediately moved. Without hesitation, he continued to increase the points. It still consumed 20 energy points at a time, but the cultivation progress of pure Yang Gangqi was only increased to Tongshuan 9%. That is to say, for pure Yang Gangqi at the Tongshuan level, 5 energy points can increase the cultivation progress by 1. This consumption is more than twice that of the consummation level. But the expectation of a higher level of pure Yang Gangqi made Lu Yun ignore this huge consumption. Finally, after consuming 455 contribution points in a row, Lu Yun's body suddenly shook. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.